Welcome back, True Seeker. Sunday, October 11th, 2020. In 2 days, all of these outlets that will be selling my book, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, they're releasing it. I still don't know why October 13th is the release date, but it is. And if you are someone who's directly ordered the book from me, again, I would really appreciate if you could go to Amazon and leave a review. You can leave the review on the Kindle edition right now, and the Kindle edition reviews do transfer into the physical copy. And again, if you do want to order the book through Amazon, just beware they're selling a paperback version like this, and they're selling the Kindle edition, which is, for the electronic reading device. And I don't think you need a Kindle to read that. I think it reads just fine on your phone. So anyway, I want to thank everyone who already has left a review. 27 reviews so far. Thank you very much. And again, if you just come to the review section, you're able to write a customer review yourself. On the left side of the screen, you can say how many stars, and then just click that write a customer review button. And you don't have to have bought the book from Amazon to leave a review. If you did buy it from Amazon, it'll say that verified purchase. But if you're someone who bought it from me, you can still leave a review here. And my hope is that there will be at least 100 reviews by the time the book releases this Tuesday, which is just 2 days away. So I know there's a lot more copies out there. So far I've mailed, I think, about 1,300 and some copies. Maybe a little bit more than that. Well, to different people, I should say. Some people bought multiple copies, but just trying to keep track of my independent records, which are all by hand and hand receipts. So anyhow, if you can leave a review, I am grateful. And also, if you want to read some of the book, if you click on the easiest way to search for this book on Amazon is just to type in my name, Zachary K. Hubbard. If you search Number Games, about a million different things will come up. But if you search Zachary K. Hubbard, it'll pull up the books. And when you go to the link for the book where it says look inside, if you click that, it actually gives you quite a bit of the book to read. You can see the first page, the table of contents, which is hyperlinked in the Kindle version. It doesn't work, though, in the look inside version because it only goes through the first 30-some pages, but it does allow you to read 30-some pages of the book. So this little spiel on me and why I wrote the book. And where I'm going to start reading today is just with chapter 1. So the entire first chapter is on the Amazon version. I'd rather read to you directly from the book, but for those who like a visual on the screen, I will read straight from this Amazon page because they do have the entire first chapter up here, and it even goes a little bit into chapter 2. So I'm impressed with how much of the book they let you read. It's not like a song where they just let you hear a little snippet of it. They give you a big chunk of the book to read for free if you want to check it out. So without further ado, let's get into it. Chapter 1, Introduction to Gematria, the Language of the Cabal. And just before I start reading, again, this is my second book, and I did the same thing with both books. I wrote it for someone who's brand new to the research so they can understand what the subject's about, why it's used, and then from there get into the rest of the content. But Chapter 1, Introduction to Gematria, the Language of the Cabal. You've likely heard the term the Cabal before, meaning a secretive and political organization. The name originates in Kabbalah, an ancient and widely practiced mysticism. A central belief within Kabbalah that we will focus on for the purpose of this book is God created the world with language by combining the number with the letter with the word. This is expressed in the foundational text of Kabbalah, the Sefer Yetzirah, or in English, the Book of Formation. In its opening paragraph, it states, in reference to God creating the world, He created His universe by 3 forms of expression: numbers, letters, and words. This belief about creation from the Book of Formation is in line with the beginning of the Holy Bible that begins with Genesis, where God speaks the world into existence over the course of 6 numbered days, before resting on the 7th day and making it holy. Ahead, we'll touch more on the number 7 and it being holy because it is an important concept to understand. For now, please recognize that both God and Genesis begin with G, the 7th letter of the English alphabet. In Kabbalah, the practice of coding numbers into words is known as gematria, meaning geometry in language. Gematria is very popular in Hebrew studies and in ancient Greek studies, where it is known as isopsophy. If you are familiar with Revelation 13:18 from the concluding book of the Holy Bible, it is a Greek isopsophy riddle. In the NIV Bible, the verse reads, "This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. In this chapter, we will uncover that wisdom, and in the chapters ahead, we will use it to understand who the Cabal is, for what purpose they are working towards, and why they have encoded the number 666 into world-changing events, including September 11, 2001, and the coronavirus pandemic of 2020, as well as smaller but related rituals, including the premature death of basketball superstar Kobe Bryant. To begin to understand the wisdom of gematria and how the English language is encoded with it, we will start with the most straightforward cipher known as Simple English Gematria, where A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and so on, counting each letter as a number using the alphabetic order up to Z, the 26th letter, is 26. The Simple English Gematria cipher is as follows, and you can see on the screen, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, up to Z, the 26th letter, is 26. Using Simple English Gematria, notice each of the words in the cipher name equate to 74. So when you spell out simple, it equals 74. When you spell out English, it equals 74. When you spell out Gematria, it equals 74. Gematria is about pairing words together that have matching numerical values and logical relationships. For example, notice how Jesus, Messiah, Gospel, Parables, and Cross each equate to 74 as well, a very special number as we will come to understand. If you are not familiar with the Gospel, it is the story of Jesus, and when Jesus speaks within it, he does so in parables. And you can see, just using that simple English gematria, Jesus 74, Messiah equals 74, Gospel, Parables, Cross. So you got the math on the screen. Paying mind to the fact that gematria is a component of Kabbalah, and the purpose of studying Kabbalah is to better understand the nature of God, the relevance of 74 can be understood by observing a Jewish rule about writing the name of God, a name that is best written G-D as a form of respect, unless it is written while studying the Torah or in prayer. You'll notice G is the 7th letter and D is the 4th, thus G-D is 7-4, and not by chance the word Jewish equates to 74 using Simple English Gematria too. For another 74, the spiritual leader of Islam, Muhammad, is a name equating to 74, and sadly it is no coincidence that Muhammad Ali died at age 74 June 3, 2016, when it is widely believed that the Prophet Muhammad died at age 63. Consider June 3rd is expressed 6/3, similar to 63, and further, 2016 is the 63rd triangular number, meaning that when 1 through 63 are added together, the total sums to 2016. If you are following me in 2014, I predicted that Muhammad Ali would die at age 74 because of the significance of the number. So Muhammad 74, the math on the screen. Another spiritual leader to some is Lucifer, summing to 74 as well, and referred to as the morning star, not unlike Jesus. Lucifer, 74, the math on the screen. Building onto our understanding of 74 and how it is used ritualistically, we need to look no further than the Freemasons, one of many Masonic orders that are based in Kabbalah, among other occult teachings. As we decode the 74s in Masonic and occult, keep in mind you must believe in G-D to become a member of the Freemason Brotherhood. Also keep in mind the deceased Freemason and Confederate Army War General Albert Pike made numerous mentions of Lucifer in his text Morals and Dogma that was immortalized in Washington, D.C., known as the Masonic City, in a statue of Albert Pike holding the book until it was toppled in the wake of the George Floyd protests, only for Donald Trump to declare it to be re-erected. Masonic 74, Occult 74. The math's on the screen. For the record, modern Freemasonry began in London, England, in the year 1717. London equals 74, the math on the screen. In light of the relevance of 74, it is not reported in history books by accident that the Freemason and first recognized President of the United States of America, George Washington, had 74 generals. It is also not an accident that the Disney film about the Freemasons, National Treasure, begins in the year 1974, nor is it an accident that the United States date of independence is July 4th, a date that is written in the U.S. as 7/4. Adding to the relevance of the number, you'll observe that holiday equates to 74. And the math is on the screen. Holiday means holy day, and as was mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, the number 7 is associated with being holy. In light of what we have uncovered so far about 74, consider that 7 is the fourth prime number, and the divisors of 4 sum to 7. For a little math reminder, prime numbers are those that can only be divided by 1 in themselves. As for divisors, those are the numbers that divide into a number. For example, the only numbers that divide into 4 are 1, 2, and 4, and when added together equate to 1 plus 2 plus 4 equals 7. And if you're wondering at this point if it is an accident that the fourth book of the Holy Bible is titled Numbers, the answer is no. Coming back to the 4th of July, as you might be aware, the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th Presidents of the United States, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe, each died on July 4th. Adams and Jefferson both died July 4th, 1826, and then 1826 days later, James Monroe died on July 4th, 1831. What makes this all the more chilling is that the word killing has simple English gematria of 74. And on the subject of killing, I would encourage you to look up the lyrics to the song Gematria the Killing Name by the band Slipknot, as well as the song Murder by Numbers by the band The Police, where killing is as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. I would also encourage you to think about how the giving and taking of life is God's work, but as we will discuss in the pages ahead, there is an organization of people using this code to play God, who for now we will simply call the Cabal. And you can see the math on the screen. Killing equals 74. Adding to the killing riddle, the Gregorian calendar that we go by now pays tribute to the fatal stabbing of Caesar on the Ides of March, March 15th, the 74th day of the year. You can see the math on the screen. Stabbing equals 74. As you will learn, killing rituals centered on the number 74 are quite common. In later chapters, we will discuss the drowning death of Naya Rivera in great detail, but for now, you can know that it was no accident she posted a photo of herself in a Jim Morrison t-shirt on her Instagram page February 7th, 2019, precisely a span of 74 weeks before her July 8th, 2020 death. This is because Jim Morrison was found dead in a bathtub, equating to 74, the same as the word drown. And please keep in mind that Jim Morrison was found by his girlfriend, Pamela Corson, who would end up dying in 1974 at the same tragic age as Jim Morrison, 27, another number we will learn more about as we progress through the pages of this book. The math's on the screen. Bathtub 74, drown 74. In case you're getting the idea, maybe a lot of words happen to sum to 74. I'll have you know that out of the 50 states, only one sums to 74 in simple English gematria, and that is the 33rd state, Oregon. This is similar to how it is written in history books that George Washington had 74 generals and 33 of them were Masons. It also reminds us that Jesus was put on the cross at age 33 according to most teachings about his crucifixion. And yes, we will learn much more about the number 33 in great detail in the chapters ahead. Its understanding is essential, and it is connected to why the actress Naya Rivera died at age 33 by drowning, as well as why Herman Cain, once a U.S. presidential candidate, died a span of 33 weeks from his 74th birthday, having been born December 13, 1945, and having died July 30th, 2020. As you'll learn, the pattern of 33 and 74 coming together is extremely repetitious, and when it is used in killing, the cause of death that is typically reported as false, such as Herman Cain's, which was blamed on coronavirus. So the math's on the screen for Oregon equating to 74 and how the state abbreviation OR is 33, like it's the 33rd state. Coming back to the 4th of July, there is another important observation that can be made about the date written 7/4 and the number 74 by running the alphabetic order in reverse, a method known as reverse simple English gematria. Using this cipher, the word free sums to 74, and July 4th, 1776 is reportedly the date that the United States made itself free from England, the king, and the crown, the latter of which is the banking cartel out of the city of London, whose flag is a red cross, and being an independent territory that is located in the center of the 33 sections that London is divided into. Now, without further ado, the reverse simple English gematria cipher. And you can see it on the screen, just running the alphabetic order in reverse. Z is 1, Y is 2, X is 3, W is 4, all the way back to A is 26. Let us now decode the word free using this cipher. And as you see, free equals 74. Using this same cipher, the word Roman sums to 74, and as they say, all roads lead to Rome, including the ones that the city of London were built upon, what was once a strategic Roman trading post. As we decode the word, keep in mind the Gregorian calendar was given to us by the Roman Catholic Church, the same calendar that pays tribute to the killing of Caesar by stabbing on the 74th day of the year, and a little further ahead we'll decode the 74 in Roman Catholicism. But Roman, the math, 74. In light of the Albert Pike statue we referenced earlier, it should be noted that it fell on Juneteenth, June 19th, 2020, the 171st day of the leap year, corresponding with the name Albert Pike, equating to 171 with reverse simple English. Furthermore, consider that Juneteenth is to remember the emancipation of the enslaved people at the conclusion of the U.S. Civil War that has been celebrated since June 19, 1865, and Albert Pike was a Confederate war general. As you'll begin to understand as we move ahead, this was not an accident but a symbolic ritual and what we will come to know as a number game. So the math's on the screen for Albert Pike, 171. And for further proof of the ritual and who was responsible for the statue coming down, using the exact same cipher, Freemasons equates to 155, and June 19, 2020, when the statue fell, was the 155th anniversary of Juneteenth. Keep in mind, the House of the Temple, the Freemason headquarters in Washington, D.C., pays tribute to Pythagoras, who said, "Everything is number." So Freemasons 155, 155th anniversary, it comes down. Coming back to the 4th of July, we'll now examine how the name Independence Day, as it is called in the United States, equates to 74. To calculate this value, we'll use what is arguably the most important cipher, known as Pythagorean gematria, also referred to as reduction gematria. It is based on the alphabetic order and incorporates the rules of numerology. You will notice A through I are 1 through 9 in this cipher, the same as simple English gematria, and the change begins with J, the 10th letter, that in numerology terms becomes 1 plus 0 equals 1, followed by K, the 11th letter, that becomes 1 plus 1 equals 2, followed by L, the 12th letter, that becomes 1 plus 2 equals 3, and so on up to Z, the 26th letter, becoming 2 plus 6 equals 8. So the cipher's on the screen. Let us now decode Independence Day into 74. And then using that cipher, Independence 62, day 12, 62 plus 12, 74. Using Pythagorean gematria, alphabetic order and numerical language each equate to 74 as well. Alphabetic order, 74, numerical language, 74. And don't forget, just using simple English. English is 74, gematria is 74. In this same cipher, Roman Catholicism also sums to 74. The math for Roman Catholicism, 74. And for a well-remembered U.S. president summing to 74 in Pythagorean gematria, try Richard Nixon, who resigned in 1974 on the date August 9th, exactly 212 days after his January 9th birthday. I bring up the 212 days because if you decode the name of the man who replaced him, Gerald Rudolph Ford Jr., you'll notice it sums to 212 using simple English gematria. So Richard Nixon, another 74. To build further on your understanding of how 74 and 33 come together, Regis Philbin equates to 74 with Pythagorean gematria, and his death on July 24th, 2020 was a span of 33 days from his August 25th birthday. And just to pause here, notice I just picked stuff that's recent within the time of coronavirus. I mean, I have a million examples like this, but I just tried to find a bunch of recent things just so people aren't thinking like, oh, I cherry picked from history's past. I mean, these are all stories just from within this year, big names. But, and of course, throughout the book, we do get into more historical examples. And his death on July 24th, 2020 was a span of 33 days from his August 25th birthday. Beyond that, every article written about his death at age 88 mentioned that his hit show, Live with Regis and Kathy Lee, began in 1988. In other words, the mainstream media's reporting was letting those know with eyes to see his demise was a number game. With the use of simple English and Pythagorean gematria, you can begin to appreciate why the English language is made up of 26 letters. By no coincidence is it that God and letter equate to 26 using these two ciphers respectively. And on the subject of 26, I would encourage you to read the first chapter of my first book, Letters and Numbers, to learn more about all that dazzles when it comes to the number 26, a number that will be discussed extensively in the pages ahead as we expose those who are truly playing God over humanity by the Gematria Code, that again is based in Kabbalah, a spiritual mysticism and tribute to God. So, again, God 26 with simple English gematria, letter 26 with Pythagorean gematria. Another related word summing to 26 using Pythagorean gematria is crusade. This matters because the story goes that during the time of the Crusades, the Knights Templar, who are the holy warriors of the Catholic Church and its Pope, secured the knowledge of Kabbalah after successfully sieging Jerusalem in the year 1099 before bringing it back to the Church. Thus, it was the Crusades that led to the Roman Catholic Church's understanding of what is considered God's code. And by tracing through history, as we did in my first book, it appears the Church has been operating by this code ever since. Case in point, it's no accident that the most recent Crusades of the Holy Lands began October 7th, 2001, 26 days after September 11th, 2001. And for the person reading who does not yet understand the connections between the Catholic Church and the United States, as well as its military, that is just ahead. We'll also uncover more about the October 7th, 2001 invasion in the pages ahead, a clear Templar ritual. So again, the math for Crusade 26. Once again, it is a belief held within Kabbalah that numbers, letters, and words are the magic of the world and the basis of creation, as well as the existence of all things. In light of this belief, consider the meaning of the word spell and its associations with the crafting of words as well as magic. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse and use the rules of numerology, the word spell also equates to 26. So the math for spell is there. This method is known as reverse Pythagorean gematria or reverse reduction gematria, and the cipher is as follows. Of course, the cipher is on the screen. Using this cipher, names such as George Washington and Jesus Christ equate to 74, pairing perfectly with what we learned earlier about George Washington, the Masonic leader, and his 74 generals, as well as Jesus, Messiah, Gospel, Parables, Cross, and their simple English gematria values, each equating to 74. So George Washington becomes 24 and 50, added up 74. Jesus Christ becomes 34 and 40, adding up to 74. Another name summing to 74 with this cipher is William III. He is the man responsible for making the city of London an independent territory within London and the nation of England, a nation summing to 33 using reverse Pythagorean with the Tonnage Act, that we will discuss more ahead. As we decode, don't forget that London is divided into 33 areas, or that it sums to 74 using simple English gematria. And relating to this pair of numbers so often found together, please know that ahead we'll discuss Boris Johnson ending up in the ICU, an acronym summing to 33 with simple English gematria, from coronavirus on April 6, 2020, 74 days before his 56th birthday, June 19th, 2020, and how the media tracked every last detail of his status in the ICU on April 7th, a date that is written 7/4 in the UK. It will tie in with how it was reported that the Global Vaccine Summit hosted in London on June 3rd and 4th, 2020, raised at least 7.4 billion US, and that 330 million pounds of that sum was pledged by the United Kingdom itself. And again, we took those stats at the time, which we covered this summer, straight from their own website. It will also tie in with how Vera Lynn died on June 18th, 2020, 74 days after Queen Elizabeth referenced her song We'll Meet Again in a rare address to the world, April 5th, 2020, on the subject of the coronavirus pandemic. So you can see the math. William III, 74, England, 33. The ciphers you have now learned make up 4 parts of what are one system, and we will refer to them as the base ciphers of the English language. In the chapters ahead, we will use these 4 ciphers to unlock the riddles that have been laid down by the cabal over the centuries, connecting world-shifting events with a focus on September 11, 2001, and the coronavirus pandemic of 2020. As we will soon get to, it is no accident that the World Trade Centers collapsed on the 74th Meridian West in Manhattan, New York, after standing for 33 years, just the same as it is no coincidence that a simulation was conducted for a coronavirus outbreak and pandemic on October 18, 2019, the day leaving 74 days left in the year, and the lone month having a gematria value of 33. And both events taking place in New York, a state having reverse Pythagorean gematria of 33. So you got the math on the screen. Regarding the date of the simulation, October 18, 2019, it happened to be the same day the Military World Games began in Wuhan, China, a contest that originated in Rome. Keep in mind, this date was prior to any deadly case of coronavirus being reported in Wuhan or the world, something that would occur in the next month, November of 2019. And in light of this book being titled Number Games, we will uncover why the coronavirus outbreak simulation was named Event 201 in Chapter 4, no doubt a tribute to the Jesuit order who serves the Catholic Church out of Rome. It is something that can only be understood and proven through having the wisdom and knowledge of gematria. For now, to further build on the relevance of 74 and to give you a bit of a preview of the 4th chapter, I'll have you know that one of the co-sponsors of Event 201 was the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, an organization that has their headquarters directly across the street from the 74-acre Seattle Center, the home of the Space Needle, that is located on the 47th parallel north. This becomes all the more interesting when you realize that the first case of coronavirus confirmed in the United States was done so in Bill and Melinda Gates' backyard, Snohomish County, Washington, and between the couple and the location, we have 2 more 74s for our list. So you can see Bill and Melinda Gates equals 74, and Snohomish County equals 74. From the decode above, you can gather the name Bill Gates sums to 33, and it is no accident that he was the head of Microsoft for precisely 33 years, or that Microsoft became a public company on March 13, 1986, his 137th day of his age. 137 is the 33rd prime number. For another March 13th in his history, he stepped down from his board position at Microsoft in Berkshire Hathaway on March 13, 2020, 137 days after his birthday. And for the record, I didn't put it in the book, but for the record, that was also the day that we gathered a group of people. We had nearly 30 people outside the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with signs, raising awareness about Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation. It was cold and wet that day. We had people fly up from California, Arizona, standing in the cold and the wet, helping get out the word. And that weekend, that was the first weekend that Event 201 went viral on social media. And it might have been because of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation employees, because we had that building buzzing about Event 201. None of the employees knew anything about Event 201 and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's participation in the coronavirus outbreak simulation. But we just happened to be there that same day that he stepped down from his board positions. Continuing on, from the decode above, you can also gather that Melinda Gates sums to 47, the reflection to 74, reminding us that Seattle is on the 47th parallel north, and the Microsoft HQ was relocated to Redmond, Washington, also on the 47th parallel north, on February 16, 1986, the 47th day of the year. Prior to that, it was headquartered in New Mexico, the 47th state, home of the 1947 Roswell incident, something we'll touch on later. Now, to bring even greater clarity and to shed more light on who the Cabal is and how they've encoded the English language, let us connect a few more important dots. We'll begin with the fact that the oldest known record of the English language traces back to the monk Berthforth of Ramsey Abbey in England in the year 1011. His alphabet looked a bit different than the one we're familiar with today. It was as follows: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, X, Y, Z, and then you have this group of glyphs at the end. You'll notice the J, U, and W of the modern English alphabet are missing, and we no longer use the glyphs from the end. Thus, the letters of Berthforth's alphabet was borrowed from Latin, the language of ancient Rome, and the civilization that the Catholic Church originates from. In light of this fact, consider that the letters of Latin are used for words as well as numbers through the practice of Roman numerals. In other words, English has Roman Catholic origins and is based in a language that has alphanumeric qualities. With that in mind, consider that English was being standardized with the 26-letter alphabet and agreed to spellings we use today at the end of the 16th century, the same time the Gregorian calendar was making its debut, in October of 1582. A calendar system that was given to us by the Catholic Church and more specifically Pope Gregory XIII. As we have briefly touched on this far, and as we will come to better understand with more examples, the English language and the Gregorian calendar are perfectly in tune with one another. If you are new to this work, this is something I have been proving daily, no exaggerating, for 7 years straight, every single day, and it is something you will be able to prove daily for the rest of your days so long as the Cabal remains in power. To build on our understanding of how gematria and dates come together, let's examine the 3 independent city-states that exist within larger nations, that are the locations from where the Cabal rules. As you might guess, they all have connections to Rome. They are Vatican City in Italy, a spiritual center, established February 11th, 1929, Washington, D.C., what was formerly a part of the Catholic colony, thus why it is between Virginia and Maryland, think Virgin Mary, and is now a military center that is named after a Masonic war general, where the cornerstone for its development was laid September 18th, 1793, before becoming an independent territory on February 21st, 1871, and the City of London. Within London, the most powerful banking center in the world, originally built within the fortified walls that were erected by the Romans, who once used it as a trading post. It should also be noted that the City of London is where modern Freemasonry was established June 24th, 1717, not long after becoming an independent territory on July 27th, 1694. Beginning with the Vatican, the name sums to 47 with reverse Pythagorean gematria, same as Francis, the first Jesuit pope, and similar to how Christian and Confession sum to 47 with Pythagorean gematria. The date the Vatican was established, February 11th, can be written 2/11, similar to the number 211, the 47th prime number. Regarding the number 47, if you have the time, watch the film The Two Popes, about the process of Pope Francis becoming the 266th Pope. You'll notice in the beginning of the movie, when he loses the Cardinals' vote, the first number shown in the election count is 47. Again, the math, Vatican, Christian, Confession, Francis, they're all 47. The date of Vatican City's establishment, February 11th, can also be expressed as 11/2, similar to 112, a number connecting to the gematria of Catholicism using the simple English cipher. Furthermore, the Jesuits who operate within the Catholic Church serve 112 countries, and the word Jesuit itself sums to 42 using reverse Pythagorean gematria, not unlike how February 11th is the 42nd day of the Gregorian calendar year. So Catholicism 112, Jesuit 42, the Vatican established 11/2 on the 42nd day of the year. Again, we're making the point that the language and the calendar given to us by the Church are in sync. Also noteworthy, on the subject of the Jesuits and the date February 11th, it can be expressed as 2/11, similar to 211, corresponding with the simple English gematria of the phrase, Jesus, Savior of Men, summing to 211, a Jesuit motto that is often expressed in Latin as Isus hominum salvator, equating to 266 with reverse simple English, and connecting to the fact that Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope, and he is the 266th pope in the history of the Church, one of many mind-blowing facts to come. You should also know that the number 266 is one that we will discuss often in the pages ahead regarding a diversity of topics ranging from Mike Pence being made the coronavirus czar on February 27, 2020, his 266th day of his age, to the death of Lisa Marie Presley's son on his 266th day of his age, in Calabasas not long after the death of Kobe Bryant, in Calabasas 266 days after his wife's birthday while traveling from Catholic Mass. For one last point on the Vatican's February 11th establishment, the 42nd day of the Gregorian year, it is not by chance that when using simple English gematria, mathematics sums to 112, and math sums to 42. And at this point, it should be very clear to see the hidden math of the English language is the name of the game. As we decode, consider that 1 plus 1 equals 2, similar to 112. And the New Testament begins with Matthew and the 42 generations to Jesus. So the math on the screen shows that mathematics is 112, math is 112, New Testament is 42. On the subject of 42, it is wise to consider that the Catholic Church built its fortune by literally selling the Savior with indulgences, a title summing to 42 in reverse Pythagorean gematria, as a means for mankind to escape purgatory and hell for their committed sins. Not by chance, sin sums to 42 in simple English gematria, and that is likely due to an ancient Egyptian teaching known as the 42 Laws of Ma'at, or sometimes called the 42 Confessions. They begin with, I have not committed sin. And then the math is there, sin and Savior, both 42. For another gematria nugget, when you write out the word 42, it sums to 74 with reverse simple English gematria. Let us not forget the connection with Jesus, the Savior, and 74. Then I make this special note here. This value of 74 is only possible because of the lack of U in 40, a rule that is taught in American English, but is inconsistent in the English language overall, given that 4 is spelled with a U, as is 14 and 400. You will notice that 40 sums to 84 with simple English, and the United States sums to 40 with Pythagorean, and United States of America to 84 with Pythagorean, tying in with US summing to 40 with simple English. In chapters ahead, 84 is a number you will learn much about. Before transitioning to the next city-state, Washington, D.C., this is an opportune time to remind us about Andrew Yang, who was a presidential hopeful in the United States whose slogan was MATH, standing for Make America Think Harder. Before dropping out of the race, February 11, 2020, the 42nd day of the year, the most mathematical day in the entire Gregorian calendar year, in addition to mathematics, his name Andrew Yang also sums to 112 using the simple English gematria cipher. As we decode, know that in the pages ahead we'll expose the U.S. federal government for what it is, a puppet show organized by a mathematical scheme where even the candidates in these predetermined selection processes are on strings. For example, it's no accident that Yang is of Chinese ancestry and he campaigned on the radical concept of giving people $1,000 per month so that they can be phased out of employment due to technology and automation. Just prior to the Chinese virus, as Donald Trump called it, that led to the shutting down of much of the U.S. economy and the giving away of $1,200 in fiat currency to every working U.S. adult, including those who were determined to be non-essential. What it was a very sick joke from the cabal who does intend to phase us out with the technology they've been developing systematically not only to replace us, but to control us and have surveillance over us, more and more with each passing day. These are things we will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt in the coming chapters because this agenda is being achieved by the code. So the math for Andrew Yang, 112, drops out on 11/2, Mr. Math, the 42nd day of the year. Let us now move on to Washington, D.C., the city-state named after George Washington, a favored person of the Catholic Church because he was tolerant of their operations in the time of the Protestant Reformation, and he was a man who laid the cornerstone for the city on the date of September 18th, 1793, a date having very relevant numerology, corresponding with the gematria of the name of the city, including 47. Before decoding the relevant gematria, we will take a moment to decode the date numerology using 4 different methods, all of which are important, just the same as the 4 ciphers you have learned to decode the English language with. These methods are as follows, so be sure to study and use these same steps on all dates you do decode going forward, just as we will now do with September 18th, 1793, the 261st day of the year, leaving 104 days remaining. So, with the math, September 18th, 1793 has a numerology breakdown to 137, also 47, also 38, and also 120. Connecting to the date numerology, you will notice Washington, D.C. sums to 137 using simple English gematria, D.C. sums to 47 using reverse simple English, Washington, D.C. is located on the 38th parallel north, plus the word Kabbalah sums to 38 in simple English. It also sums to 38 using Hebrew gematria. And the word Illuminati sums to 120 using simple English, similar to how Inauguration Day for U.S. presidents is January 20th or 1/20. Regarding the Illuminati, they were established May 1st, 1776 as a Masonic order by Adam Weishaupt, who was Jesuit trained. We'll touch more on their establishment date ahead as another proof of how the numerical value of words sync with dates of the year, as well as their numerology values. So then you have the gematria for Washington, D.C. 137, Illuminati 120, Kabbalah 38, D.C. 47, corresponding with the date of establishment for the city. Regarding the number 137, there are a few things you should know. For starters, government sums to 137 with reverse simple English gematria, as does White House, and authority sums to 137 with simple English gematria, as does Morals and Dogma, the Masonic text authored by Albert Pike that we referenced earlier that pays tribute to Freemasonry being based in Kabbalah. Furthermore, 137 is the 33rd prime number, and all of the following words have Pythagorean gematria of 33. As we decode, keep in mind George Washington was a 33rd degree Freemason who now has a 333-foot Masonic memorial built in his honor in Alexandria, Virginia. Not to mention the House of the Temple, the Scottish Rite HQ in Washington, D.C., has 33 columns on the outside that are each 33 feet tall, and not by accident. So Masonry, Federal, Secrecy, Order, all 33. To give you a recent example of how the numbers 33 and 137 come together in ritual, or what I often refer to as number games, consider the story of 33-year-old Naya Rivera's dead body being recovered in a lake on July 13, 2020, a date that can be expressed as 13/7 like 137. Furthermore, she was a star on the hit TV show Glee, and 7 years earlier, in the 7th month July, the first member of the hit TV show was found dead, a young man named Corey Monteith, on July 13, 2013. Even further, when Rivera's body was discovered, it made her the 3rd member of the show to tragically die young, factoring in with her age of demise, 33. Also factoring in, she had starred in the 33rd episode of the show Devious Maids that aired July 13th, 2015, where she dies in the episode. And she had also starred in the 2014 film At the Devil's Door, where she wears a red sweater with, of course, the number 33 on it. In light of the title of the film, it is important to remember that where she drowned, Lake Peru, is a name related to the word devil. That is because in Finnish, Peru is a word for devil. Next, for a relevant history lesson on the Illuminati, George Washington penned a letter to a man named William Russell September 28, 1798, expressing his concerns about the Illuminati and their plans to overturn all religion and government through the means of conspiracy. Regarding conspiracy, the Illuminati was established by Adam Weishaupt on May 1st for this very reason. Notice the value of his name in light of conspiracy and even the stereotypical insult for truth seekers that is often tinfoil hat, using Pythagorean gematria for each. So you can see with the math, Adam Weishaupt, 51. Conspiracy, 51. Tinfoil hat, 51. Bavarian Illuminati established 5-1. As you can gather, they all sum to 51, much like the date May 1st or 5-1. If you're like me, the number 51 should remind you of the well-known location that is often associated with conspiracy, Area 51. And speaking of Area 51, for those who contend Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing there, you should know that the word moon sums to 51 with reverse simple English. It was for this reason SpaceX reportedly launched their first private rocket to dock at the International Space Station May 30th, 2020, 51 days before the 51st anniversary of the moon landing. Keep in mind that launch was scheduled for 3:22 Eastern Standard Time, and Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, died November 18th, 1830, the 322nd day of the year, an infamous number we will learn more about later in relation to Skull and Bones, an offshoot of the Bavarian Illuminati. The number 51 also connects to the riddle of Naya Rivera, a name equating to 51 with Pythagorean, the same as Lake Peru with reverse Pythagorean, as well as the words just the two of us with Pythagorean, the latter being the words she left on her final social media post on Instagram just before her reported drowning that we will discuss in even greater detail in the chapters ahead. So no doubt, the next time someone throws the program stereotype at you, tinfoil hat, or mocks you for referencing the Illuminati, you'll have some gems to drop on them. And don't be surprised if that often regurgitated insult is hurled at you for sharing the incredible knowledge of gematria. Should you experience this treatment from anyone, remember, this language is for people with wisdom, something that most people don't have and are seemingly incapable of, almost as if they are under a spell. Very possibly because of the lifelong programming they've been subjugated to through popular media, most of which is produced by the cabal. In other words, you are blessed, so know that truly. Back on the subject of the United States capital city, it should be noted that prior to the cornerstone being laid, Washington was first recognized as a territory on July 16, 1790, a date with numerology of 130, corresponding perfectly with the simple English gematria of Washington, also summing to 130. Furthermore, the July 16th date of establishment was 144 days after George Washington's February 22, 1719 birthday. This matters because the United States of America sums to 144 with reverse Pythagorean gematria. The name also sums to 261 with simple English gematria, and the date the cornerstone was laid, September 18, 1793, was the 261st day of the year. It is also for this reason that the U.S. dollar bill is 2.61 inches tall. Even further, if you use Pythagorean gematria, the name United States of America sums to 99, and the United States of America was named as such on September 9, 1776, emphasis on 99. To take it further, the nation began with 13 colonies that are represented in the 13 stripes of the U.S. flag, and if you write out 13, it has a simple English value of 99. This connects to the fact that the Bavarian Illuminati was established with 13 families on a date with 99 numerology, May 1, 1776. Furthermore, from their establishment to the naming of the United States of America, September 9, 1776, was a span of 132 days, not unlike the number of rooms in the White House. The distance of 132 days matters because United States of America sums to 132 with reverse Pythagorean gematria when you leave the out. For another 132, Catholic Church equates with simple English. And for another parallel to the Church, the date the cornerstone was laid, September 18th, leaves 104 days in the year, and Roman Catholic Church equates to 104 with reverse Pythagorean, similar to how 7/4/1776 has 104 numerology as follows: 7 plus 4 plus 17 plus 76, 104. Thus it is another reminder, all roads do lead to Rome and the Church. Now let us practice decoding. So you can see the United States of America, 99, 1399, Bavarian Illuminati establishment, 99 date. You will notice that if you leave the out, United States of America sums to 84 with Pythagorean gematria. In light of the naming of the country being well coordinated with the establishment of the Bavarian Illuminati that was founded by Adam Weishaupt, a trained Jesuit, an operative of the Catholic Church, it should come as no surprise that Jesuit sums to 84 using simple English gematria, and the title of the Jesuit order, Superior General, sums to 84 using Pythagorean. Furthermore, if you write the Catholic Church, it sums to 84 in Pythagorean, and the Jesuit order sums to 84 using reverse Pythagorean. So you have all these examples of 84. Could have added there the Twilight Zone, another 84, Serling 84. We covered that in the first book. If you've read George Orwell's 1984, you might be starting to understand why he chose the year for the title of his novel. And if you've seen the film based on the book, you're very familiar with the red and black color theme. They are colors of the Jesuits, and this same color scheme is used in another important and related film that is based in a 1984 setting, V for Vendetta, where the main character wears a Guy Fawkes mask, and Guy Fawkes was a Jesuit. As a heads up, the number 84 is one that will come up repetitively in the chapters ahead regarding the Jesuits, and will surely be one to continue to come up as time goes on. Case in point, as I am finishing this book, it has been reported on May 20th, 2020, that the former Jesuit Superior General has died at age 84. To understand why he died on the date he did, look no further than the fact that May 20th leaves 225 days in the year, and his birth name Adolfo Nicholas sums to 225 with reverse simple English gematria. Even more, he died on the 191st day of the current Superior General's age, Arturo Sosa, who was born November 12, 1948, and Society of Jesus sums to 191 using simple English gematria. If you're not aware, the official name of the Jesuit order is the Society of Jesus. As for Sosa being 71 years old at the time of Nicholas' death, that ties in perfectly with the next point that needs to be made about the history of Washington, D.C., and its significant dates. On February 21st, 1871, Washington, D.C. became an independent city-state with the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. The act merged the town of Washington and the Jesuit territory of Georgetown into one self-governing territory. This was done as a means to invite international investment due to the territory becoming impoverished and some areas being in ruins as a direct result of the U.S. Civil War that had recently concluded and largely bankrupted the nation. The year 71 matters because Catholic sums to 71 using simple English gematria, and the date February 21st or 2/21 matters because the Bavarian Illuminati sums to 221 using the same cipher. At the same time, the Jesuit motto, Jesus, Savior, Amen, equates to 221 with reverse simple English, and once again the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. What is even more hidden is the gematria of District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871, summing to 201 in reverse Pythagorean, similar to how the Jesuit order equates to 201 with reverse simple English, another very special number to the organization that we will take apart in Chapter 4 when we dissect Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation of October 18, 2019, that again took place on the same day the Military World Games began in Wuhan, China, a festival with origins in Rome, like the Catholic Church and Jesuits. For now, you can know the following about the number in relation to the Jesuits, and that is the Jesuits were reportedly saved by Catherine the Great, who preserved the Jesuit order by defying Pope Clement XIV, who ordered the Jesuits to be suppressed on July 21st, 1773, and they were, except for the 201 that were protected by Catherine, the leader of Russia at the time. This number becomes all the more fascinating when you recognize that Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, is also the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, a stat pairing perfectly with his birth name Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equating to 201 with simple English, the same as Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, as well as the name Domus Sanctae Marte, the official name of Suite 201. I should also note that Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit, eventually changed the name of the Bavarian Illuminati to Order of Illuminati, equating to 201 with simple English, reminding us of Inauguration Day 20/1. Another important fact about the date of the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871, February 21st, is that it is the 52nd day of the year. With regards to 52, the head of the Catholic Church is the Pope, and not by chance the title sums to 52 using simple English gematria, same as the phrase, the Cabal. Their mission is to rule over Earth, a name also summing to 52 in simple English, and a number pairing with the number of weeks in a year, 52, and the number of cards in a deck, 52. For a few more relevant terms equating to 52, government and White House sum to 52 using Pythagorean gematria, and authority and president equate using the reverse Pythagorean cipher. Just wait until we get to Donald Trump's role in the Cabal's schemes, the man who attended Fordham University, a Jesuit school, in 1964, 52 years before becoming president-elect, and 56 years before the coronavirus pandemic. I bring up the part about 56 years because it is a number you will become very familiar with in Chapter 4. For now, you can know that Washington, D.C., Society of Jesus, and coronavirus each equate to 56 in Pythagorean gematria. You can also know that when we get to Chapter 18 about how George Perry Floyd fits in with the Cabal's agenda, a name summing to 201 with simple English gematria, will break down the changing of Washington, D.C.'s 16th Street to Black Lives Matter Plaza on June 5th, 2020, in tribute to George Floyd, a date that can be expressed as 5/6, similar to the number 56, and reminding us that the Civil Rights Act of 64 came 56 years earlier, and Black Lives Matter sums to 56 using Pythagorean gematria. Moving on to the third city-state, the city of London, its origins are so old that the date of establishment has been lost to time. Its autonomy came, however, with the Tonnage Act that established the Bank of England and respective territory as an independent entity July 27, 1694. The Tonnage Act, also known as the Bank of England Act 1694, made the bank and territory an independent corporation, thus why the City of London is also commonly referred to as the City of London Corporation. In light of this fact, notice how the numerology of the date of establishment corresponds with the simple English gematria of corporation, summing to 144. So you can see the date of establishment, numerology of 144, the word corporation, using the most simple cipher, 144. A moment earlier, we covered how the United States of America has gematria 44 and that Washington, D.C. was established 144 days after George Washington's birthday. This is a number relevant to the Jesuit order as well, summing to 144 with simple English gematria. And it reminds us that Donald Trump, Jesuit educated, posed with Pope Francis at the Vatican May 24th, 2017, the 144th day of the year. So the gematria for Jesuit order, 144. Adding relevance to the number 144, Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit order, would often conclude his letters with the phrase, "Go forth and set the world on fire." If you take the time to apply the code, you'll notice that in Pythagorean gematria, the phrase sums to 144 as well. And in light of the Jesuits operating on behalf of the Catholic Church, it is important to know that the nation of England has been under Catholic control since the Treaty of 1213, when King John pledged England and Ireland to the papacy. This was agreed to on October 3rd, 1213, a date with 38 and 26 numerology connecting both parties involved. King John sums to 38 with reverse Pythagorean, and papacy equates to 26 with Pythagorean. As a reminder, 26 is the number associated with God as well as crusade, and this historical event, the Treaty of 1213, wasn't long after the Catholic Church came into possession of the code after the Knights Templar returned with it from the Crusades. Going back to the date of July 27th, the date of the Tonnage Act, it is written 27/7 in the United Kingdom, much like 277. The number 277 is the 59th prime number, and this matters because London, England sums to 59 in Pythagorean gematria, whereas Freemasonry sums to 59 with reverse Pythagorean. Consider, modern Freemasonry was established in the City of London in the year 1717, and the number 59 is the 17th prime. Furthermore, the United States of America declared its independence from England in 1776, 59 years later, and Independence Day sums to 277 with reverse simple English. For another point, the word Mason sums to 17 in Pythagorean gematria, tying in perfectly with the year 1717, the establishment of modern Freemasonry. Also relevant to the discussion is the fact that from the Jesuits being recognized by Rome in 1540 to the establishment of modern Freemasonry in 1717 is 177 years later, and where the Jesuit order equates to 177 with simple English, New World Order equates to 177 with reverse simple. What is essential to understand is modern Freemasonry claims its roots in the Knights Templar, who served the Catholic Church, same as the Jesuits. Even further, there are many Freemasons who are also Jesuits as well as being members of other Masonic orders. As we will come to understand, there is a thin line between these secret societies that is most clearly seen in Washington, D.C. This is because it was once the Catholic colony, also known as Rome on the Potomac and controlled by the Jesuits, but is now known as the Masonic City, named after the Freemason George Washington. Even with the newer name Washington, it still has a heavy Jesuit presence due to Georgetown University, the first Jesuit university established in the United States, by John Carroll when he was 54 years of age, on January 23, 1789. It matters that he was 54, born January 8, 1735, because John Carroll and Jesuit order both equate to 54 in Pythagorean gematria. Furthermore, the number 54 is symbolic in terms of time. This is because we're on the Gregorian calendar, a solar calendar, and the word sun sums to 54 in simple English gematria. If you're not aware of the Jesuit logo, it is the sun with the letters IHS inside, as well as the cross and 3 nails, the latter symbolizing those used in the crucifixion of God's Son, Jesus Christ. And for the record, January 23rd, 1789 was a date with numerology of 49 and 130, both connecting to the gematria of Washington, as well as a date with 113 numerology connecting to the value of Scottish, summing to 49 and 113. Consider further, both Georgetown and Scottish Rite sum to 57 using Pythagorean, and George Washington, the Freemason, having a first name equating to 57 with simple English, would turn 57 years old February 22nd, 1789, days later, just before becoming the first recognized president of the United States, April 30th, 1789. I'll add that Washington's inauguration date had numerology of 140, connecting to Washington with reverse simple English, and numerology of 32, connecting the Scottish Rite and the Jesuits, as well as America. We'll touch on 32 just ahead. For more relevance to the number 57, 4 of the first 6 U.S. presidents were inaugurated at that age. And in light of the nickname of the capital city, Rome on the Potomac, it should be noted that Rome sums to 57 with reverse simple English. As for the 4 U.S. presidents to be inaugurated at age 57, they were George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and John Quincy Adams. And for a final point about Georgetown's establishment and how it pays tribute to the Jesuits, as well as the Scottish Rite, the date January 23rd can be written 23/1, similar to 231, the 21st triangular number. This matters because the word Jesuit sums to 21 with Pythagorean and 42 with reverse Pythagorean, just the same as how Georgetown equates to 42 with reverse Pythagorean, connecting back to the Vatican being established on the 42nd day of the Gregorian calendar year. To further illustrate the relationship between the Jesuits and Scottish Rite, the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite shares a motto with the Jesuits in Latin, Ad Merum Dei Gloriam. In light of it being the 32nd degree, keep in mind there are 32 sun rays in the Jesuit logo, and using Pythagorean gematria, Scottish sums to 32, as does America, the nation established on July 4th, 1776, a date with numerology of 32. In the same cipher, Christ also sums to 32, reminding us that we're talking about the Society of Jesus. To take it further, the Latin motto Ad Merum Dei Gloriam sums to 115 using reverse Pythagorean, similar to how Masonic and France sum to 115 with reverse simple English. The reason France matters is because the Jesuits were formed in France and the Scottish Rite came to power there, the same nation where many of the Masonic founders of the United States of America studied. If you're up for a TV show, take the time to watch Nightfall, set in France. It is focused on the Knights Templars' fallout with the Catholic Church at a time when Pope Boniface VIII was focused on making all kings and queens of Europe bow the knee to the Roman Catholic Empire. You'll get a kick out of the mention of 65 Knights Templar orders in Europe in episode 6, knowing that Knights Templar and Christianity sum to 65 in Pythagorean gematria, and to be a member of the Knights Templar, you must be a Christian. Coming back to the Latin phrase ad merum Dei gloriam, it means for the greater glory of God. The translated phrase sums to 351 with reverse simple English gematria, the 26th triangular number, bringing us back to the simple English gematria of God, summing to 26. And on the subject, let us now appreciate how the Council of Nicaea in the year 325 that was held by the Catholic Church to bring about how to worship the offspring of God factors in. To make a long story short, the church, who had brought many pagans under its rulership, was having trouble with people worshiping the sun in the sky instead of worshiping the Son of the Virgin Birth, who died on the cross for man's sins, and this was a problem they wanted remedied. Following the trail of the Catholic Church giving birth to the Knights Templar, and the Knights Templar being the roots of modern Freemasonry, and that you must believe in God, or G-D, to be a Freemason, and Catholicism worshiping the Son of God, established and made clear in the year 325, it makes sense that Scottish Rite of Freemasonry sums to 325 using simple English gematria. At the same time, City of London Corporation sums to 325 with reverse simple English gematria, and it too is under Jesuit and Freemason control, meaning ultimately it is under the Catholic control. It is under Catholic control. Ahead in Chapter 3, we will uncover what happened on March 25th, 2020, or 3/25, while the Bank of England was 325 years old, the heart of the City of London Corporation. It will connect continents and many loose ends not yet tied. To finish our introduction to Gematria, the language of the Cabal, let us take a moment to think about the flag of the city-state, Washington, D.C. On it are 3 stars that symbolize the unholy trinity. That is the Vatican, the City of London, and D.C. itself. With that in mind, we'll now decode the word Trinity using reverse simple English and reverse Pythagorean. You will notice the word sums to 74 as well as 47. So the math is on the screen. At this point, we have connected how the numbers 74 and 47 correspond with each of the 3 city-states, and we have learned the mathematical relationships between the digits 7 and 4. One thing that has not been stated yet is the numerology of 74 and 47 equates to 11, what is known as the master number. This is because the digit 1 is the only number that divides into all numbers, corresponding with the belief that God is in all things, and God is the master of all things. The number 11 is also the first rep digit, meaning a number that is made up of the same repeating numbers, such as 11, 222, 3333, 44444, etc. Plus, in numerology terms, when you repeat a number, you magnify its power. With that in mind, I want you to pay mind to the plethora of 47s encoded in these key words that pertain to Washington, D.C., arguably the most powerful city-state in the world, that once again had its cornerstone laid September 18th, 1793, a date with numerology of 38, 47, and 137, all numbers summing to 11 in numerology terms. So the numbers equating, or the words equating to 47: DC, government, authority, president, Trump, Caesar, White House, Republican, Whig, Democrat. And think about, this wasn't in the book because it just happened the other day, but just the other day, Donald Trump. I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years. Talking to Joe Biden, who was the 47th vice president. So then I write, for a few more examples, it's not an accident that Donald Trump was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night of the rigged selection, and it's not an accident Obama became president at age 47 alongside the 47th vice president, Joe Biden, who was at the center of the Ukraine investigation, pure theater, a nation summing to 47 with reverse Pythagorean. It's also not an accident that Abraham Lincoln said 7 years ago, or that the United States birthday can be written 4/7. Speaking of which, the Masonic compass and square used by the Scottish Rite out of France, a nation summing to 47 with simple English, is set at 47 degrees in tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid, otherwise known as the Pythagorean theorem. It is wise to note Pythagoras is considered by some to be the first Freemason, and the name Pythagoras equates with Washington in all 4 base ciphers. A perfect match. Try your skills out and see for yourself. Other words having logical relationships and perfect matches are plentiful. Try witch and broom or judge and gavel. Speaking of which, the latter two sum to 47 using simple English, and not by chance, Trump's first picked Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch was confirmed on April 7, 2017, emphasis on 4-7. As for the 47th problem of Euclid, it symbolizes how to establish a perfectly square foundation, a word summing to 47 with Pythagorean gematria. That would be the word foundation. In the book, when I emphasize a word, that's telling you that's the word I'm talking about. This pairs well with the fact that L'Enfant, the French Freemason, laid out D.C., the land of 47, where the Washington Monument's cornerstone was also laid on July 4th. In case you're reading this and seeing the connections and saying things such as, so what, or what is the value of knowing this, I want to say 2 things. 1, you've been missing out for years, and 2, you will. Case in point, Monday Night Football, November 11, 2019, the Seattle Seahawks of Washington State were at the San Francisco 49ers as big underdogs on the 130th birthday of Washington State. Not by chance, the Seahawks coach, Pete Carroll, was going for his 130th regular season win and his 140th win including the postseason, corresponding with the gematria of Washington, summing to 130 and 140, and sure enough he got them, paying those who took the Seahawks to win more than triple their money. I don't mean to promote gambling, but what I do promote is awareness of how the show is being scripted and who is responsible, and how in the world of sports you can prove it every single day. Of course, American football is credited to Walter Camp, the Scottish Rite Freemason, and it is no accident the NFL had its first Super Bowl in its 47th season. It was foundational. To say a few more things about 47, the reflection of 74, the number we started with, in Hebrew, the word Elohim sums to 47. This is a common name for God of the Old Testament. This factors in with how the name God can be written G-D, the seventh letter and the fourth. As was mentioned earlier, the Cabal is playing God with this knowledge, and not by chance the title The Cabal sums to 47 with reverse Pythagorean. It is for this reason the 33rd President, Harry S. Truman, who became a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason October 9, 1945, was used to pass the National Security Act of 1947 that went into effect on September 18th, the anniversary of the cornerstone being laid for the city of Washington, D.C., a date that has much to do with the Roman Catholic Church. Prior to being enacted, it was introduced in the Senate, a Roman concept, on March 3rd or 3-3, and it was signed into law by Harry S. Truman on July 26th, the day leaving 158 days left in the year. Truman's signing date matters because the word Freemasonry sums to 138 with reverse simple English, and the date August 15th or 15/8 is the date the Jesuits were founded in France in 1534 before being officially recognized by Rome September 27, 1540. This act created the NSA and the CIA, things that have been used to both spy on the public and steer the public in the interest of the cabal who control the nation by the code, and no doubt these agencies. Speaking of which, if you've never seen the film The Truman Show, you must. It is about a man who has every inch of his life secretly tracked and recorded for the sake of being broadcast on a reality TV show without him ever knowing about any of it. Of course, the cabal also controls Hollywood, summing to 33 with reverse Pythagorean gematria. And if you didn't know, Hollywood is a reference to the wood of holly trees that have been historically used by druids to make wands for magic spells. And again, spelling is the word and the name of the game. For your learning, I must mention Truman's birthday, May 8th, 1884, emphasis on 5-8, as well as the year 84. Using Pythagorean gematria, Freemasonry, Secret Society, and Solomon's Temple each equate to 58. Of course, Freemasonry is a secret society, and most of its secrets are in legends of Solomon's Temple. It is for this reason that Donald Trump announced from his 58-story Trump Tower that he was running for U.S. President in the 58th U.S. presidential election. The significance of the number is also why he hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day, and it connects to why Hillary Clinton wrote the book What Happened, Summing to 58 with Pythagorean Gematria, about why she lost the election. Regarding Hillary, keep in mind Freemasonry is a fraternity for men, and when you apply reverse Pythagorean Gematria, you'll notice the word fraternal sums to 58 as well. One question we have not yet fully answered is why go through all this trouble of mathematical calculation and date planning and name and word coordinating? As covered, this code is associated with God's way of operating as it is taught in Kabbalah. Furthermore, there is another important set of occult teachings that the secret societies, including the Cabal, are heavily invested in, and that is Hermeticism. It has 7 sacred principles. The third is vibration, summing to 47 with Pythagorean Gematria. This principle expresses that everything, including every number, every letter, every word, every color, every smell, every sound, etc., carries a vibration, and these vibrations have consequences that influence the world. Thus, if you can harness these energies and use them strategically, you can influence outcomes, something that the Cabal is heavily interested in. Keep in mind, the word energy sums to 74 in simple English gematria, same as weapon and nuclear. This pairs well with the Trinity test, where Trinity sums to 74 and 47, the first nuclear test taking place in the 47th state, New Mexico. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how this event, part of the Manhattan Project, pairs with the World Trade Centers falling on the 74th meridian west in Manhattan, and the site of 9/11 being called Ground Zero, a term that is used to describe the point above or below ground where an atomic or nuclear weapon explodes. Another event from recent history also tying in was the massive earthquake in Southern California on July 4th, 2019, or 7/4, just days before the 74-year anniversary of the Trinity test that took place July 16, 1945. This earthquake's epicenter was located on a military base, and not coincidentally. And much like 9/11, it created a sense of fear, and that is the energy and vibration the Cabal specializes in, pumping it 24/7, 365 for the sake of control. For another 74, the word tarot sums to 74 using simple English, as in tarot cards, and ahead you'll learn much about them, including the 19th card of the tarot deck, the Sun card, and what the Gregorian calendar, a solar calendar, has to do with 19-year cycles. It has everything to do with why September 11th happened in 2001, blamed on 19 hijackers, and why the COVID-19 pandemic happened in 2020, 19 years later. In Chapter 18, we'll bring together George Floyd, who yelled, "I can't breathe," summing to 74 with reverse Pythagorean, and why it was reported an officer kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in the Twin Cities, not unlike how the first plane hit the Twin Towers at 8:46 a.m. on September 11, 2001. George Floyd's killing happened in Gemini as well, the astrological sign known as the Twins. And as we'll get to, it was no accident that they scheduled the pre-trial for his murder for September 11, 2020, the 19-year anniversary of the infamous day, especially when the surname Floyd sums to 19 with reverse Pythagorean. On the subject of 9/11, you're likely aware that 3 buildings fell that day, and it was referred to as the New Pearl Harbor. Those buildings were numbered 1, 2, and 7, similar to the date of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, or 12/7, much like 127, corresponding with the reverse simple English gematria of Ground Zero, summing to 127. The third building to fall, Building 7, was 47 floors tall, and each floor had 47,000 square feet of space. Adding insult to injury, it was known as the Solomon Brothers Building, not too far off from Solomon's Temple, and the name Solomon Brothers sums to 211, the 47th prime. Keep in mind, the demise of the World Trade Center was blamed on Osama bin Laden, who was referred to as the Cave Dweller by President George W. Bush. Not by chance, both his name and his nickname summed to 47 using Pythagorean gematria. And trust me, that's just where the riddles begin that we will dive much deeper into next chapter. And with regards to these very clear patterns, when you have a moment, I would encourage you to look into the BBC, summing to 74 with reverse simple English, reporting that Building 7 had fallen well before it began to collapse. If you have forgotten, Building 7 collapsed several hours after the Twin Towers, and it was not hit by a plane, becoming only the third steel-frame building to ever collapse from a fire in history, all 3 of which collapsed on September 11, 2001, in what is arguably the most obvious lie ever told. On the subject of 9/11 and introducing this knowledge to you, I would be amiss to skip the dancing Israelis who were arrested in New Jersey, a state summing to 47 with reverse Pythagorean on the day of September 11, 2001 for celebrating the attacks. They were then sent back to Israel, the nation that was recognized as a nation by the United Nations November 29, 1947, where they went on live television and admitted they were in the U.S. to document the events of 9/11, meaning they had foreknowledge. Keep in mind, Brooklyn, New York, a neighbor of Manhattan, sums to 74 with reverse Pythagorean, and I bring this up because it is the most Jewish neighborhood in the world outside of Israel, and my first book, Letters and Numbers, teaching about the gematria of the English language, as well as 9/11 and the dancing Israelis, as those subjects have never been taught before, was banned March 15th, 2019, the 74th day of the year, by Etsy, a Jewish-owned company out of Brooklyn, without reason, despite having all positive reviews and hundreds of reviews and over 10,000 sales. When we get to the chapter on Jesuits, we'll discuss their Jewish origins like gematria. We'll also expose Anthony Fauci, head of NIH since 1984, the Jesuit from Brooklyn, who said on January 10th, 2017 at Georgetown a pandemic was coming for the Trump administration in very specific terms. To close, there is one last thing you must know about the number 47. It is that the word time sums to 47 with simple English gematria. Consider the Tropic of Cancer is at 23.5 degrees north, and the Tropic of Capricorn is at 23.5 degrees south, thus separated by 47 degrees, and they are used to measure time and the respective solstices of the northern and southern hemispheres, thus the tropics measure the sun. As you will come to understand, this is what it's all about for the Cabal, using the code to control humanity and control time as we know it. This includes controlling what we know about the past, present, and future. To quote George Orwell's 1984, who controls the past controls the future, who controls the present controls the past. So, it has all this on here if you want to come to Amazon.com and search my name, Zachary K. Hubbard. Just click on the book and click the look inside. You can read everything I just read, and it even goes a little ways into chapter 2. Let me see. How far is it going to chapter 2? It goes a considerable way into chapter 2. Let me see. I'll check in with the chat. Do you guys want me to read what it has at chapter 2 on here, or should I call it good at chapter 1? So I will check in with the chat, but I'm just seeing. Okay. And then it just ends right there. That's not the end of chapter 2, but that's just where I don't know how they decide how much of a book to show that they sell. I wasn't asked any questions. Release date, I don't know why. The amount of book you can read, I don't know why, but this is how it is. So, kind of wish they would have released it over a month ago, since I've had my copies for over a month, but it's only 2 days away now. So, let's see. All right, chat, should I keep reading? The chat says keep reading. Okay. All right, we can read what's on here at chapter 2. All right, so chapter 2. 1968, the year of coronavirus and the 9/11 master plan. 1968 was a very significant year, full of tragedy and plotting. In terms of tragedy, one of many included a gunshot that ended Martin Luther King Jr.'s life on April 4th, 4/4, the well-remembered civil rights leader. For your gematria learning, his demise was on a date corresponding with the word kill, summing to 44 using simple English, and shooting, summing to 44 with Pythagorean, same as execution. Making matters all the more suspicious, his murder came 1 year to the day of his speech, Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence, given April 4th, 1967 at the Riverside Church in New York, where he said the heart of all that was wrong in the United States, including racism, was the U.S. military agenda that was responsible for bringing so much hatred, death, destruction, and darkness into the world. Perhaps it isn't a coincidence, then, that military sums to 44 with Pythagorean gematria, or that our history books state that the assassination of Caesar took place in 44 BC, a man who led one of the greatest militaries of all time. After all, they do say that the victors write the history books, and all roads lead to Rome. As for the Jesuit influence in the English language, and its once secret gematria code, do not look past the fact that the word infantry has Pythagorean gematria 44, or that soldier equates to 44 with reverse Pythagorean. In the case of the first word, infantry has infant in it, showing that the Cabal knows what they're doing, taking advantage of the youth and exploiting them for the purpose of their militaristic agendas. And with regards to soul die R, it has the word soul and die in it. Of course, sol is the Spanish word for sun, and it is the beginning of the word solar, relating to the sun's energy. At the same time, the last letter is in the word is R, the 18th letter, corresponding with the gematria of IHS, as well as sun, as well as the age most young people join the military at. Again, IHS is the acronym in the Jesuit logo in the sun. Furthermore, I guess I wrote it right here. Furthermore, the Jesuit logo is the sun with the acronym IHS in the middle of it. And you must keep in mind the text Art of War by Sun Tzu, emphasis on sun, was translated in 1772 by a Jesuit in France. And further, some historians contend there never was a Sun Tzu, a man who is believed to have died at either age 46 or 47, where Catholic and Vatican equate to 46 and 47 respectively. And of course, France also sums to 47, reminding us of L'Enfant, who laid out Washington, D.C., the 47 city, and the heart of the Cabal's military empire. And if at this point you're thinking about the number 44 and MLK, and you're wondering about Barack Obama, a name summing to 68 with simple English, think 1968, who became president at age 47 and who became the 44th president elected 44 years after the Civil Rights Act and who ran his campaign on hope, summing to 44 with simple English, then you're wondering about the right things, and yes, your questions will be answered. After MLK, another well-remembered gunshot came, ending Robert Kennedy's life June 6th, 6/6, the man who brought the news of MLK's murder to the minds of many with his televised words. Also not by coincidence, Robert Kennedy sums to 66, the same as his assassin, Sirhan Sirhan, both with the Pythagorean cipher, complementing the date of death 66. Patterns such as these bring new meaning to the age-old expression, your number is up. We'll touch more on both assassinations ahead, and we'll even discuss JFK's and Lincoln's because they all come together through one number that points with great intensity at the Jesuit order. And for those that hate cliffhangers, I'll give you half of the story now. Martin Luther King Jr. was not born with the name. He was born Michael King Jr. The name he assumed, Martin Luther, was the name of the leader of the Protestant Reformation against the Catholic Church that transpired after he published the 95 Theses, exposing the Church's wrongdoings. For his efforts, the Jesuit order was created with the purpose of killing Martin Luther and his followers. Not by chance, the Jesuits were recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days in the year, to counter the 95 Theses in Martin Luther's campaign. And that brings us to the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. was killed on the 95th day of 1968, a leap year, and also on a date with 95 numerology. That's the half of it. For your learning, you should also know that Jesus, Savior of Men, a Jesuit motto, equates to 95 with reversed Pythagorean, and of course, MLK was a follower of Jesus Christ. Moving on, the infamous year included the 1968 pandemic, also known as the Hong Kong flu, that reportedly killed at least 1 million and as many as 4 million people. 1968 was the year the term coronavirus was coined. 1968 was the year of what is believed to be the first documented HIV case coming from City Hospital, summing to 68 in reverse Pythagorean. 1968 was the year 911 was established as the emergency dialing code in the U.S., with the first call made on February 16, 1968, the 47th day of the year. 1968 was the year World Trade Center construction began in New York on the 74th Meridian West. 1968 was also the year George W. Bush, the president at the time, graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, a man with a July 6, 1946 birthday, meaning September 11th is the 68th day of his age every year. Seriously, what are the odds of that? And then I wrote, answer about 1 in 365. Let us not forget his father's speech, the 41st President George H.W. Bush, on September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the day, about a new world order and it being freer of terror. Of course, the word terror sums to 68 with reverse simple English. As we know, that was W's favorite word, and more than a decade later, I'm still trying to figure out how to correctly write the way he would pronounce it. Terra, terra, terra. No matter how, W's father, H.W., was a member of Skull and Bones, the same as his father, Prescott, and the same as W himself, and fittingly, Skull and Bones sums to 41 with Pythagorean gematria, tying in with H.W. being the 41st president, and September 11, 2001 taking place on a date with 41 numerology. Even further, the attack was blamed on Al-Qaeda, summing to 41 with simple English, similar to how Saudi Arabia equates to 41 with Pythagorean, where the majority of hijackers were said to be from. Keep in mind, 41 is the 13th prime number, and Skull and Bones is the U.S. offshoot of the Bavarian Illuminati that was established with 13 families on May 1st, 1776. Skull and Bones is also a fraternity located at building number 322 on the Yale campus, a number they identify by. Just ask Tim Russer, who prior to his untimely death at age 58 asked both George W. Bush and John Kerry about being in Skull and Bones and the significance of 322, while they were the two respective candidates for U.S. president in the 2004 race. Bush representing the Republicans and Kerry representing the Democrats. Adding to the relevance of the number, as we covered earlier, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, died November 18, 1830, the 322nd day of the year, leaving 43 days remaining. As for the son, George W. Bush, being the 43rd president, he and his father attended Yale, as stated. This matters because Yale sums to 43 with simple English, and you might recall how George W. Bush was announced the 43rd president-elect after Florida called the election in his favor. This was funny at the time because his brother Jeb was the current and 43rd governor of Florida, and not by chance, Florida sums to 43 with reverse Pythagorean gematria, same as Masonic. On the Masonic tip, the letters DC are 4-3. And don't forget that before HW was the 41st president, he was the 43rd vice president. And prior to that, he was the 11th director of the CIA, an alphabet agency with an acronym summing to 68 in reverse simple English. 1968 was the beginning of a new age, and not a positive one for humanity, but one that we're feeling the consequences of today. It is probably no accident then that the word age sums to 68 with reverse simple English, or that solar system equates to 68 with reverse Pythagorean, seeing as how it is the movement of the planets in relation to the sun and stars that dictates the age. As I write this, HBO has announced they're removing Gone with the Wind, summing to 68 in reverse Pythagorean, from their movie platform, a classic title that opened the 1968 Cannes Film Festival that was ended prematurely by civil unrest and rioting. The reason for its 2020 removal, in the words of HBO, is that it needs to be culturally reframed in the wake of George Floyd's death, and the rioting caused by the video of his death being shown in mainstream media thereafter. Thus, if the times are changing, so is the age. But we must understand these things are being forced and not coming about naturally or to anyone's benefit except the cabal's. For one more spark of the mind on the rigged selection of George W. Bush, and for the purpose of exposing how rigged the game is, when Florida was called in his favor, he received the winning 271st Electoral College vote, the 58th prime number, connecting to the Pythagorean gematria of George W. Bush, summing to 58. And yes, that is the same cipher that Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, Secret Society, and Solomon's Temple equate to 58 in. At the same time, Bush sums to 58 with reverse simple English, reminding that Tim Russer, who asked Bush and Kerry about Skull and Bones, didn't make it past the age of 58, dying on his 38th day of his age, where the words death, murder, killing, and R.I.P. each have gematria of 38. Tim Russer, born May 7, 1950, dead June 13, 2008, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Next time you see the movie poster for Murder by Numbers, you'll be sure to notice 2 letters are changed to numbers, the E to a 3 and the B to an 8, thus 3 and 8 like 38. And on the subject of 58, never forget King James, who has the KJV Bible named after him, died at age 58 unexpectedly. He was a Rosicrucian and a Freemason. And for another reminder, biblical sums to 58 with reverse Pythagorean. We'll touch more on King James and the biblical riddle when we get to Kobe Bryant's suspicious death, January 26, 2020, a day after being passed by LeBron James, an all-time points scored, a.k.a. King James, in Kobe's hometown, Philadelphia. Never mind the Church of Philadelphia is referenced in Revelation 3:7, thus a city name having biblical roots, or that a cartoon named Chamberlain Heights foreshadowed Kobe's death in a helicopter crash in a November 16th episode written 16/11 like 1611, the year the King James Version Bible was published. And while we're at it, never mind that Los Angeles Lakers and Kobe Bryant each equate to 58. Back on the subject of 1968, it was the year the Quran code was reported to be discovered, showing how the Holy Book is encoded with the number 19 from cover to cover through simple calculations, such as how the 114 chapters of the text, or 114 surahs, are divisible by 19. 1968 was also the year Muhammad Atta was born, said to be the ringleader of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 and the oldest of the group, having turned 33 on September 1st, 2001, a standout age for self-sacrifice. It almost makes you say, Jesus Christ. For the record, it was reported that his hijacked craft, Flight 11, flew into the 110-story World Trade Center towers that appeared as a massive number 11 in the skyline of the 11th state, New York, on the 11th day of the month. In light of the Jesus Christ point, consider September 11th, 2001 as New Year's Day on the Christian Coptic calendar, and it is a date some researchers contend is the true birthday of Jesus, coming just 3 days after September 8th, the date the Catholic Church celebrates as the Virgin Mary's birthday. Furthermore, the name Jesus sums to 11 with Pythagorean gematria. When you're aware of this, you can understand why Revelation sums to 121 with simple English, a number having a square root of 11, and being the concluding book of the Holy Bible, dealing with the return of Jesus and the suffering the world must endure before that time. Keep in mind, when you add 1 through 11 together, it sums to 66, and Revelation is the 66th book of the Bible, and the final book of the New Testament, summing to 66 with reverse Pythagorean. For another, math sums to 66 with reverse simple English, and of course, the New Testament begins with the book of Matthew. Coming back to the man born in 1968, Atta, who died at 33 on what some would argue is Jesus' birthday, it is noteworthy the word crucifixion sums to 68 using Pythagorean gematria. Another relevant word equating to 68 in light of the story of Jesus beginning in the book of Matthew is the word mathematics itself, using the reverse Pythagorean cipher. Related to the value of mathematics summing to 68, the subject of sacred geometry equates to 68 with Pythagorean gematria. If you have read my first book, Letters and Numbers, you are well aware of the relationship between the gematria of the English language and the sacred numbers of sacred geometry, and how those numbers connect to spiritual traditions, including Christianity and Jesus. For example, the most important shape in sacred geometry is the flower of life that is made up of 61 overlapping circles, and those circles represent all of creation. Using reverse simple English, Jesus sums to 61, not unlike how church sums to 61 with simple English, or Christian sums to 61 with reverse Pythagorean, same as Christmas. To take it a bit further, there are 13 circles in what is known as the fruit of life in sacred geometry that rests in the middle of the flower of life, not unlike Jesus and his 12 disciples, or the sun and his 12 constellations, thus 13 and 13. Adding to the riddle with Jesus, who spoke in riddles, the word fruit sums to 74 with simple English and 61 with reverse simple English, the exact same as Jesus and cross. Returning to Muhammad Atta, what was reportedly leading him to his great sacrifice on the 74th Meridian West at the age of 33 were the master orders from Osama bin Laden, or cave dweller, as the president called him. Not by chance, Osama bin Laden, cave dweller, and president each equate to 110 with simple English gematria, same as Adolf Hitler, the biggest historical villain next to Osama, who was born April 20th, 1889, the 110th day of the year. This set of 110 pairs perfectly with the 110-story tall twin towers that were proposed by the Rockefeller family, a surname summing to 110 with simple English as well. In the 10th chapter of this book, we'll discuss the Rockefeller Foundation's 2010 document, Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. In the document, it brainstorms the future potential control structures of the world, and there is one referred to as lockstep-style government, where there is a massive surveillance grid for the populace, authoritarian rule, and much pushback from the people. I bring this up because in the time of coronavirus and the writing of this book, massive surveillance grids are being installed by governments worldwide under the guise of tracking carriers of the virus, and we do live in a very authoritarian top-down structure style of government, whether we realize it or not. And at the moment I am finishing this book, there is massive pushback worldwide as protests are held across the globe in remembrance of George Floyd, who was seen being murdered by a police officer on mass mind control sets across the world, the TV. In George Floyd's memory, the name Martin Luther King Jr. is being invoked, who was, of course, assassinated in 1968 at the age of 39, not unlike how George or Gemini both sum to 39 in Pythagorean gematria. And George was killed in one of the twin cities, Minneapolis, in the time of Gemini, the twins, on the 93rd meridian west. The 93 matters because Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Martin Luther King Jr. sum to 93 in Pythagorean, similar to how Malcolm X sums to 93 with simple English, and the two civil rights leaders only met one time in history, March 26, 1964, a date with 93 numerology. Like King, Malcolm X was also killed at age 39 on a date with 44 numerology, February 21, 1965, by an assassin, Thomas Hagen, whose name sums to 44 with Pythagorean, who received 44 years in prison to match MLK's 4-4 expiration, connecting with James Earl Ray, the accused killer of MLK, who died April 23, 1998, 44 days after his 70th birthday on March 10th. For the record, Malcolm X's assassin was a member of the Nation of Islam, summing to 58 in Pythagorean, same as Audubon Ballroom, where Malcolm X was shot dead. And to connect it back to George Floyd, he was killed by a 44-year-old officer, a title summing to 44 in Pythagorean, same as Overseer, on the 44th parallel north, in Minneapolis by a man named Derek Chauvin, summing to 58 with Pythagorean as well. Not by chance, the name Chauvin alone sums to 33 in Pythagorean, the same as police and the same as race war. At the same time, federal also sums to 33 with Pythagorean, and this is why Donald Trump first deployed federal police to Oregon, the 33rd state, who were reported to be snatching George Floyd protesters off the street with military tactics and unmarked vans. Keep in mind, the headlines about the federal police in Oregon first emerged on July 18th or 18/7 like 187, corresponding with the gematria of the nation's federal government headquarters, Washington, D.C., equating to 187 with reverse simple English, the same as Society of Jesus. At the same time, Portland equates to 44 with reverse Pythagorean, the same as Chicago, and this is why Trump announced he was dispersing federal police to Chicago after having success in Portland. You could say he was executing the federal police state by the numbers, a term equating to 44 with Pythagorean gematria. And in case you're not familiar with what a police state is, I'll use Google's definition only because they're one of the key companies and helping execute it, as we'll get to. Their definition is as follows: police state, a totalitarian state controlled by a political police force that secretly supervises the citizens' activities. I suppose the only difference being that in 2020 it is no longer a secret, and as we move ahead through this chapter in this book, you'll understand more and more this is exactly what is being built, a police state in the United States of America and across the world, something that has been in the works for several decades. Furthermore, it is being implemented based on a series of lies that in recent history includes 9/11 and the coronavirus outbreak of 2020. Speaking of the number 44, later in the chapter I'll teach you about the greater significance of the World Trade Centers falling to the ground 44 days after Tisha B'Av, also known as the 9th of Av, summing to 44 with reverse Pythagorean. It is the Jewish day to remember the destruction of the two temples similar to the two towers, or twin towers, that were bombed in 93 and had their bombing blamed on the blind sheik, a nickname summing to 93 with simple English. And on the subject of 93, it is a number you must understand the meaning of. It represents time in two ways. One, we are told through science that the sun is 93 million miles away, and the sun is the timekeeper of our Gregorian calendar. This becomes all the more interesting when you realize God's Son, Nazareth, and crucifix each summed to 93 with simple English. Never mind that we measure time with the thought of BC, or before Christ, and after. And never mind that in 2012, science claimed they had traced the date of Jesus' crucifixion to April 3rd, what is the 93rd day of the Gregorian year, tying in with the crucifixion lasting from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Bible. The second time association with the number 93 is the planet Saturn, having simple English gematria of 93. Saturn is the most distant planet from the Sun to the naked eye, known as the keeper of time to the occult. It is for these reasons Flight 93 was part of the September 11th ritual, and the second plane to hit the Twin Towers was reported to have crashed into the structure at 9:03 a.m. For another related thought, the words atomic bomb summed to 93 using simple English, and the research for its creation was called the Manhattan Project. Of course, the World Trade Centers were in Manhattan, and when they collapsed, the site was called Ground Zero, a name that was only used to describe the point above or below ground where an atomic or nuclear bomb had detonated prior to September 11, 2001. With that in mind, ask yourself, what energy was used to turn those buildings to dust as they fell to the ground, falling into nice little neat piles, covering New York in fine layers of the tower's remains? Could it have been a weapon developed by the Manhattan Project? Could it have been an atomic bomb? And why did the U.S. military detonate over 1,000 atomic and nuclear bombs, many of them below ground, for the better part of a century anyway? Not by chance, underground testing concluded September 23, 1992, shortly before the 93 World Trade Center bombing on February 26th, that presented the authorities with an opportune time to work under the buildings that were attacked below. Could this have been when the charges were set? No matter the answer, in the decades since the collapse of the World Trade Centers, there have been many health-related deaths for people of New York and many questions unanswered. In my opinion, it is fair to ask if fallout from the possible blasts is the culprit. And for one last point about 93, at least for now, the last surviving pilot to drop the atomic bomb on Japan, a nation summing to 93 with reverse simple English, died at age 93. He was Theodore Van Kirk. Adding to the 110 list and coming back to George Floyd, his death occurred in Minnesota, a state summing to 110 with simple English. And once again, it was reported that a police officer knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, similar to how Muhammad Atta reportedly crashed into the World Trade Center at 8:46 a.m. local. For another, Dave Chappelle, the comedian with a name equating to 110 in simple English, made a bit in tribute to George Floyd titled 846. To take it further, the name George Floyd sums to 119 with simple English gematria, not unlike the way the majority of the world writes the date September 11th or 11/9. And adding further to the riddle, the last time there was as big of a social push with marches and protesting prior to those in remembrance of George Floyd were the marches inspired by the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Florida, a school named after a woman from Minneapolis, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where the school shooting happened Valentine's Day. February 14, 2018, a span of 119 weeks from the George Floyd killing video being released. May 26, 2020. The 119 pattern also reminds us of the Rodney King riots that the George Floyd riots have been compared to. Those began April 29, 1992, after police officers involved in his assault were acquitted on TV. Of course, April 29th is the 119th day of the Gregorian year, and Fraternal Order of Police sums to 119 with Pythagorean gematria. If you're not familiar with the FOP's logo, it has an all-seeing eye on it, summing to 119 with simple English. And for a couple more 119s, by the way, FOP's Fraternal Order of Police. And for a couple more 119s, Osama bin Laden was reported dead May 2nd, 2011, a span of 119 weeks after Barack Obama became president. Obama, January 20th, 2009. Osama, Obama? Better yet, Osama bin Laden's father reportedly died in a plane crash September 3rd, 1967, the day leaving 119 days in the year, and a date that can be expressed as 9/3. For the record, 1967 was the year of the Six-Day War won by Israel, and summing to 119 with reverse simple English, pairing with how the symbol on Israel's flag, the Star of David, sums to 119 in simple English, just like Orthodox. For another, New Jersey sums to 119 with reverse simple English, where the dancing Israelis were arrested on 9/11. At the Doric apartment complex, summing to 322, the number of skull and bones, with reverse simple as well. If you haven't heard President Eisenhower's farewell address, where he warns the U.S. people of the coming military-industrial complex, summing to 322 in simple English, you should seek out that speech. He was warning us that something like 9/11 was coming if we didn't stop the growing thirst for conflict that our nation's military strategy was based on. But who could have been behind all this? Look no further than the Vatican, summing to 119 with reverse simple English, the heart of the same church that has been waging wars, especially with Islamic regions of the world, for centuries. And for those who doubt this now, make sure you finish the book, because you won't doubt it later. To connect the dots even further between culture-shaping events we've already drawn parallels between, let us examine the number 33. In the case of Rodney King, he was beaten on March 3rd or 3/3 by the LAPD, summing to 33 with simple English. This is similar to how police sums to 33 with Pythagorean, and how Trayvon Martin was buried on March 3rd, and how the rioting began after Floyd's killing on East 33rd Street in Minneapolis, and that the killing officer Chauvin has a surname summing to 33 with Pythagorean, and that the Cops TV show was dropped by Paramount after its 33rd season because of the George Floyd protests, while Detroit was erecting a statue of RoboCop in 2020, 33 years after the 1987 film, during a time of a national discussion about defunding human police. The number 33 is a hallmark of the Cabal, and it has everything to do with why the World Trade Centers lasted for 33 years, 1968 to 2001, and why Jesus was crucified at the youthful age of 33. As we're beginning to understand, these tragic and impactful events of modern and biblical times are being contrived in accordance with Scripture to fulfill biblical prophecy. Not by chance, the word Bible sums to 33 with reverse Pythagorean, as does Sunday, the only day of the week that has a connection to the number, and the day that was made the one to worship on by force by the Catholic Church, reminding that the Jesuit logo is the sun, connecting to the naming of the day Sunday. And for the record, Sunday and Jesuit are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 base ciphers, summing to 21, 78, and 84. And in light of Scripture and number games, think about how Genesis 11:9 is where the story of God destroying the Tower of Babel ends, in light of the demise of the Twin Towers on 11:9. And as for the word prophecy, it sums to 110 with reverse simple English gematria, bringing clarity to why it is used in the way it has, from 9/11 with the 110-story towers to George Floyd's killing in Minnesota. And again, that's also why I went with this book cover that cleverly encodes 110. And, just October 2nd, Trump's tweet about having coronavirus 110 days after his birthday, President 110. To connect a gematria-based relationship with 33 and 119, consider that pineal sums to 33 with reverse Pythagorean gematria, as in the pineal gland or the mind's eye, and the Masonic phrase all-seeing eye that relates to the pineal gland sums to 119 with simple English. Through the TV, or better referred to as the television, the Cabal has a window into the mind's eye of the masses, and through the TV, as well as other popular media, they are actively programming the populace with regularly scheduled programming, as they so often call it. This programming's purpose is to steer the behavior of people in the direction of their ongoing agendas that boil down to giving the Cabal greater and greater control over humanity, while disarming the people of their God-given liberties, under the guise of safety and protection. Their objectives are arrived at through the repetitive strategies of order out of chaos, while broadcasting fear before delivering a predetermined solution. The other important point is that they achieve these objectives with greater and greater spiritual wickedness as time passes on. To take it further, there is an occult belief about spiritual ascension up the 33 bones of the human vertebrae that leads to enlightening the mind's eye or the pineal gland of a person. It is in this belief where the occult significance of 33 resides, and the likely reason for both people and person equating to 33 with Pythagorean gematria. The name of the belief is Kundalini, summing to 58 with reverse Pythagorean, complementing the 58 values of Freemasonry and secret society as we covered earlier. For another 58, the four-letter name of God, Tetragrammaton, sums to 58 with Pythagorean, and Kundalini is about connecting with God. It is because of Kundalini that Freemasonry is fixated on the number 33. And despite Freemasonry being about self-improvement, including spiritual, and that being the true purpose of the knowledge they study, including the Bible, Kabbalah, Kundalini, Hermeticism, and alchemy, the Cabal has taken the knowledge and turned it on its head, pushing darkness to prevent the people of this earth from reaching enlightenment. They do this because people in the dark without light are much more easily contained, controlled, and exploited. And by the way, they sums to 58 with simple English. Now you'll know what to say the next time someone asks the common question, who are they? What is being done to humanity at this moment in history is the knowledge of our ancestors is being inverted. And instead of helping people spiritually ascend, the Cabal is using their mass media mind control weapons to pump nonstop fear, division, and chaos encoded with occult wisdom to keep us in a low vibrational state so that we are less likely to think and more likely to follow out of fear with a coward mentality. Thus, those of us who have the light and who aren't afraid are those who will help free our brothers and sisters from darkness, and that is why it is important we never quit in our quest, and we know our self-worth no matter how difficult the path of truth becomes. That includes not only helping our friends and family, but also strangers who will listen. In doing so, we can help them escape the matrix of misinformation that steals their time, does damage to their energy levels, and programs them with the wrong thoughts and behaviors. Helping them escape the matrix includes avoiding false history, politics, bogus religious teachings, news, mass mind control, entertainment, and even pro sports that are rigged to the core and sync with the agendas. Case in point, 1968 was the year New York Jets... Case in point, 1968 was the year the New York Jets went on to have their only Super Bowl winning season, starring Broadway Joe, who guaranteed it. New York Jets, 9/11... Never mind that Joe Namath sums to 33 with Pythagorean, similar to New York, equating to 33 with reverse Pythagorean, and his team's feat would begin a 33-year countdown to the demise of the buildings that were engineered and advertised to withstand impact from a commercial jetliner because of how tall they were, towering over the rest of Gotham City, as it is known in Batman, where in the 33rd episode of the old hit TV show titled Fine Finny Fiends, Skull and Bones is referenced as being part of the Bruce Wayne family legacy. And for your gematria learning, the alumni of Skull and Bones are referred to as Bonesmen, summing to 33 with Pythagorean gematria. 1968 was also the year Boeing in Seattle, Washington debuted their jumbo jetliner. The city of Seattle is noteworthy because the construction firm that built the World Trade Centers, Magnuson Klemenkic Associates, is headquartered in Seattle, Washington as well, and the name Seattle, Washington sums to 68 with Pythagorean gematria. For another dot you might otherwise not connect, the Seattle Seahawks won their only Super Bowl, 48, that was hosted by New York and New Jersey at the Jet Stadium. When the MVP of the game took the podium to speak after its conclusion, a man grabbed his mic and said, 9/11 was an inside job. Keep in mind the common terminology for an inside job is false flag, summing to 48, the same as Seahawks, both using reverse Pythagorean. Furthermore, the MVP of Super Bowl 48 was Malcolm Smith, summing to 48 with reverse Pythagorean gematria. Think about it. What are the odds? To get even more astronomical, the Seattle Seahawks, summing to 43 with Pythagorean, won the game with 43 points. It's a fitting score because football sums to 43 with reverse Pythagorean, and the sport is credited to Walter Camp, a Skull and Bones member who attended Yale, summing to 43 as covered. This should clear things up the next time you see the Batman film The Dark Knight Rises, where a football stadium explodes only after Section 322 is shown. For another kick, the only player on the field who survives the fictional blast in the film is number 86, reminding of August 6th, the date of Hiroshima a date that can be expressed as 8-6 or 6-8. Adding to the number riddle, Hines Ward, the retired NFL receiver who played the part of number 86 in the film, finished his NFL career with 86 touchdowns, 85 receiving, 1 rushing, and of course wore 86 for his NFL team, the Steelers, that played at Heinz Field. When you have eyes to see, you realize pro sports are nothing but number games, and absolutely weaved in as part of the matrix of riddles the cabal has wrapped around the populace. This knowledge will also bring new meaning to that often repeated line by sports commentators: "You couldn't have scripted it any better." It truly is a slap in the face, especially when you see what's going on. If you're not familiar with what a false flag is, it is when someone uses pirate tactics, flying a flag that is not their own but of an enemy, and doing something terrible so that the terrible act will be blamed on the enemy whose flag was used. This was done when the U.S. bombed Pearl Harbor with its own military, but with planes that had the flag of Japan painted on their sides, giving the cabal leverage to get the people of the United States behind the idea of joining World War II against Germany and Japan. That historical false flag is not much different than how on 9/11, the new Pearl Harbor, as it has been called, the U.S. and its allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia, attacked the World Trade Centers, the Pentagon, and the minds of the people of the world so that the atrocities could be blamed on a region of the world that was ripe for invading. Of course, this region is ripe with resources, including oil, the opium that is now flooding the streets. Of course, this region is ripe with resources, including oil, the opium that is now flooding the streets of the U.S. in the form of heroin, and the mountains of Afghanistan that are full of the resources needed to make the computers and phones we use today. On the subject of false flag, it should be noted that it sums to 33 with Pythagorean gematria, the same as Hawaii. Again, the World Trade Centers were attacked after existing for 33 years, and the attack on them was a catalyst for war, the same as the attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Furthermore, both Pearl Harbor and Order Out of Chaos equate in gematria terms, and Pearl Harbor also equates with World War. Even further, both World War and Pearl Harbor equate with Art of War, the Jesuit-translated text on military tactics. And as I will continuously remind you of in the pages ahead, the U.S. Civil War began April 12th, 1861, the 102nd day of the year. The 9/11 attacks were said to have lasted 102 minutes, and both World War and Art of War equate to 102. To further illustrate how entertainment ties in with the world of recorded history, there is a Hollywood film titled Glass that was released at the beginning of 2019. It is about a terrorist who wants to demolish brand new skyscrapers reminiscent of the World Trade Centers. In the film, they are having their grand opening on December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. The name of the fictional buildings are the Osaka Tower, referencing the Japanese city of Osaka. These details in the fictional movie are how the cabal gets their laughs, taking advantage of a public that is still largely sound asleep and not able to connect the obvious dots of history. What isn't as obvious about the riddle is the title Glass, summing to 58 with Simple English and 77 with Reverse Simple English. The number 77 was extremely important in the September 11, 2001 ritual, where Flight 77 hit the 77-foot-tall Pentagon on the 77th Meridian West exactly 77 minutes after taking off, where, according to the 9/11 Commission report, the plane took off at 8:20 a.m. and crashed at 9:37 a.m. Adding to the number 77 list, September 11th and World Trade Center both sum to 77 using Pythagorean gematria, as does the phrase order from chaos, a tactic of the Jesuits as well as Masons that is also sometimes worded order out of chaos. At the same time, United States and secret society sum to 77 using reverse Pythagorean. In light of the name of the country summing to 77, keep in mind the 77th Meridian West that cuts through the nation's capital is nicknamed the American Meridian. Furthermore, construction on the Pentagon began September 11th, 1941, with emphasis on the year 41, since USA sums to 41 in Simple English, and the 9/11 attack occurred on a 41 date numerology, reminding us that Pearl Harbor was attacked December 7th, 1941. Tying the events together even more closely, the Hollywood film Pearl Harbor released May 25th, 2001, a span of 110 days from the 110-story World Trade Center's demise on September 11th. This is similar to how the George Floyd murder pre-trial begins September 11th, a span of 110 days from his May 25th, 2020 killing in Minnesota equating to 110. For a bit more on entertainment and pro sports being used as part of the cabal's web of deceit, mockery, and misinformation, think about the New York Jets, Mo Lewis, wrecking the quarterback Drew Bledsoe of the New England Patriots, who wore number 11 right after the September 11, 2001 attacks. This occurred September 23, 2001, 12 days after the attack, giving rise to Tom Brady, who still wears the number 12 all these years later, and the New England Patriots in the time of the Patriot Act. Do I dare mention Tom Brady was born in 77? To appreciate the script, you must recognize that the Patriot Act became effective October 26, 2001, 45 days after the attack. This matters because Patriot sums to 45 with reverse Pythagorean, and New England sums to 45 in the same cipher. And also with regular Pythagorean gematria, meaning New England sums to 45 forwards and backwards. Furthermore, the day Tom Brady took over the team, September 23rd, was the day leaving 99 days in the year, and both New England and Patriot equate to 99 with simple English. Also, the date the Patriot Act was enacted, October 26th, leaves 66 days left in the year, and Patriot Act sums to 66 with reverse Pythagorean. Let us not forget 66 is the 11th triangular number, and football is a game of 11 on 11, and September 11th, 2001 was perhaps the greatest 11 ritual of all time. And on the subject of 66, ahead I will teach you about Jewish gematria, where the acronym NFL sums to 66, and 1966 was the start of the NFL's first Super Bowl season. In terms of how news and sports are scripted together, it is for this reason that Tom Brady left the New England Patriots in 2020 at the time of coronavirus, while the nation and its Patriots were falling. The ritual is undeniable when you know gematria. For example, he made clear he was going to Tampa Bay Buccaneers on March 16th. A date written 316 like 316 in Tampa Bay Buccaneers equates to 316 with reverse simple. Furthermore, it was the next day, March 17th, that he officially signed with his new team that was on a date that can be written 17/3 like 173, and this date matters because Knights Templar sums to 173 with simple English. Again, they were the order of knights that served the Catholic Church and its Pope until they were banned by the Church Friday, October 13th, 1307. At that point, many of them fled and went into hiding, becoming pirates or buccaneers. Furthermore, Tom Brady moving on to play football in Florida at age 43 is no accident because both words equate to 43. Keep in mind the pirate symbolism in his new team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, also reminds us of the pirate symbolism in the Oakland Raiders, the team that was screwed with the Tuck rule, January 19th, 2002, emphasis on 119, to launch the New England Patriots' very, very scripted dynasty that lasted nearly 2 full decades. And if you look carefully, you'll notice the skull and crossed swords symbolism of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo is eerily similar to the skull and bone symbolism of the powerful Yale fraternity that had Bush in office thanks to Florida when 9/11 happened, as well as the emergence of Tom Brady, the New England Patriots, and the Patriot Act. With these topics in mind, I'd encourage you to look into maritime law, the law of the sea, and how it is what U.S. law is based in. These things are not an accident. Instead, they are evidence of who created this land we call the United States of America, and as we are learning, they are entities connected to the Catholic Church. Since we brought up Tom Brady's departure from the New England Patriots, we must also bring up Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers being signed by the Patriots to replace him June 28, 2020, during the time of the George Floyd protests. In the wake of his signing, CNN ran a front-page story, The New American Patriots, with an image of Colin Kaepernick, the NFL QB who grew his hair out like a Black Panther and said he was paying tribute to the 1968 Olympic protesters, as well as Beyoncé, who dressed up as a Black Panther for the Super Bowl 50 halftime show where Cam Newton lost, as well as Lin-Manuel Miranda, the rising star of the Broadway hit Hamilton, a play where black men replaced men who were white, historically speaking. Sort of like Newton replacing Brady. Of course, Cam Newton is another star quarterback in the NFL who for all of his career has played with a Black Panther on his helmet as a black man playing for the Carolina Panthers, a team the Patriots defeated in Super Bowl 38 and where Panthers equates to 38 with Pythagorean. In light of this information, you must keep in mind the Black Panther Party was founded by Huey P. Newton having the same surname as Cam Newton. The riddles don't end there, however. And then, unfortunately, the Amazon preview ends there, but that next part's pretty interesting. So it gives you a big chunk of the book to read. I'd say that's probably about 10% of the book, because the book is 365 pages. That's probably about 35 or 36 pages there. So what's nice about that is even if you don't want to support the book, which I hope you would, if you wanted to share this information with somebody, you could just, you could send them this link right here, and you could say, hey, just click on the look inside, and you can read a big chunk of the book. And shout out to the 2 additional reviews. We had 27 ratings when we began. We're up to 29. Again, I would be so grateful if we got to 100 by the day the book released, which is 2 days from today. It's nice if you write out a review, but you don't even have to write. You can just come and give it a rating. And be sincere about your rating. I mean, I hope you rate the book if you've read it so far. But, let's see. Caesar just gave us a review. Thanks, Caesar, for the 5 stars. He says, Zach is on to something. I recommend everyone checks this out. See behind the veil and follow the code. Discerning King also gave us, I think these are our 2 new reviews today. Thank you. He titled it Cabal and Its Ongoing Code with the Church and Other Secret Society. Zach Hubbard has been discovering for the last 7 years how the Cabal and knowledge of the coding of words and numbers using the language English and passing it down to various secret society that includes the Roman Catholic Church called Gematria, at least for the last 1,000 years. A must read if one wants to understand how most, if not all, our events are contrived using this code. Not a conspiracy book. All is laid down for one interested in learning more how the world works, probably since mankind has been walking the earth. Really it is a conspiracy book. We're exposing a conspiracy. People are there's just so much societal programming around the word conspiracy. People are just afraid of that word. So you can use the word agenda instead, that we're exposing an agenda. But, it's absolutely a conspiracy. Jack says the most important book ever written. The hidden hand that pulls the strings is revealed. Undeniable proof of a scripted reality in the mainstream. As they live and we sleep. Hubbard exposes every facet of our fake existence. News, politics, sports, weather, entertainment, religion, history. As simple as ABC 1, 2, 3. You've been lied to your entire life. Mocked and programmed repeatedly by a society obsessed with numerology and an unyielding need to control. To read this book is to know your enemy and, more importantly, the code they have been using for centuries. Number Games closes the coffin lid on conspiracy theory and gives birth to conspiracy fact. Warning, do not read if you are comfortable with the Matrix, because this book is the red pill. Lori says, deeper insights. I had started my quest many years ago and understood Gematria from Manly P. Hall, but Zachary Hubbard's book becomes much more detailed in undeniable facts and numbers, not to mention the deeper Jesuit connection, which has maintained a veil of secrecy since the 15th century. I think technically she meant the 16th century, but that's okay. The 1500s. In world events. Highly recommended. Probably the most important work of our time, says Irvin. Buy the book. Doesn't matter who you are or what you do. From ancient mysticism to pop smoke to the core of our reality. This knowledge is crucial to all of us. After you read it, make sure to pass it on. Good luck, everybody. Get active. Mike says, open your mind. This book is your Matrix red pill moment. Be King, life-changing knowledge. The author proves with example after example spanning decades how the repetitive convergence of certain numbers surrounding the world of news, sports, politics, and entertainment cannot be attributed to chance or coincidence, but is undeniable proof of intent, premeditation. This book is the pair of sunglasses from They Live. Hey, I'm pretty sure I wrote that somewhere in my own book. But I think that's a great analogy. Lupita writes, must-read book. Don't know about Gematria, nor did I. I didn't know about Gematria until I began listening to his YouTube channel. It's a must-read book. Gematria is in every aspect of our daily lives. Please buy his book and open your mind to a world of number games by Zachary K. Hubbard. And apparently, if you click see all reviews, there's even more. Bradford, thanks. He says, Zach is the man. Gematria is the key. Gematria is the code of the matrix we live in, and Zach exposes it brilliantly. If everyone had this knowledge, we would stop being so easily deceived by our government and media, and we could make this world a paradise. Heather wrote, Zach is something special. I just purchased Kindle version of book and recently discovered Zachary. After listening to his work daily, I still feel like I am having a nightmare because ain't no way a group of people can be so cruel. After understanding the technique even a little, it is obvious the majority of us peasants are targeted and time is literally running out. I am so thankful for the dedication Zach puts into his work and the knowledge he has gained uncovering Gematria. Furthermore, that he is willing to share with you and me amidst all the envious folk. It is truly amazing, and I hope millions of people realize what is going on sooner rather than later. Okay, I think we read all the reviews. So thank you to everyone who wrote a review. I hope one day this book has as many positive reviews as my first book did on Etsy. There used to be hundreds of 5-star reviews on there before it was banned. And I imagine one day this book will be banned as well. It seems like it's only a matter of time. I'm actually surprised Amazon's even willing to sell it. I go after Amazon pretty good in the book. And when I do the follow-up, I'll go after them even more. But again, it's worth selling on Amazon because this is where people shop. And if the book gets good sales and good reviews, it will find people who've never heard about any of this. And again, that's why I go at it day after day. Those of you guys who leave comments that are like, Zach, you're so repetitive, realize, I mean, I appreciate that you guys are here for each video, but when I make a video, every video I make is with the intention of reaching a new person or a new group of people. So things have to be repetitive to introduce it to someone who's brand new. Okay, so good little introduction to the book if you were on the fence. And I suppose since it's Sunday and people are usually hanging around on Sundays, we can take some calls. You guys want to say something about the book, or maybe you want to ask me to look into something. Let me open up the phone line real quick. And but by the way, something else that's happening right now is a lot of people are buying my ebook for $5, on my website, and then they're sending me an email and saying, I bought your book, please send it to me. So again, if you guys buy the ebook for $5, that's not the same as buying this. And there's been some young people who've done that and said, oh, I was confused, can you still send it to me anyway? And because they're young people with not a lot of money, I've done it. But realize, when I send you the book and you only paid $5, it costs over $10 for me to print, and it costs a little more than $3 to ship in the U.S. So I'm essentially losing about $10 when that happens. Okay. Let me open up the phone line real quick here. Okay, the line is open if you want to call in. And again, if you are somebody out there who did order the book but didn't send an email to numbergamesbook@gmail.com, like if you're Gia, you're very active in my comments. To have not sent an email to numbergamesbook with your address yet shows me that you're not really paying attention. But I saw that you were, threatening to sue or something because you hadn't received your book yet. It's like, hey, Gia, just follow the instructions and send an email where I say every single day, and I'll get you your book. All of you guys having tantrums in the comments just start to look like trolls to me, so. Caller?
Zachary.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. What's up?
Well, I want to say the book is amazing from opening and the way you sealed it, it's a textbook. I look at it as a textbook. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate you reading it. Did you finish it?
Absolutely. Did you purposely start it with an S and end it with an S?
Wait, I'm not understanding that. Say that again?
Did you purposely start it with an S and end it with an S? The way you opened it and you sealed it?
Did I do that? I didn't realize that the first letter in the book is a S and... Oh, shit, his call disconnected. Well, I didn't do that on purpose, but I just have to even look for myself. Is the first letter an S and the last letter an S? Oh, because I guess should you read this book, the first thing written is an S. And the last word is righteous, which does end with an S. I didn't do that on purpose, but okay. Very, very good attention to detail. So, I guess it's fitting too, right? Because the book's about 19-year cycles. S is the 19th letter. So, maybe I'll just pretend that I did it on purpose. But no, I didn't. All right, too bad we lost his call. He can call back in. And if you guys do want to call in, the number's on the screen. 509-560-4982. If you guys don't want to call in, I can go eat some food or something. So... Okay. Well, I guess we just don't have many calls. It's too bad. Maybe I put everybody to sleep reading the book. I should send a book to Bill Gates. I'm pretty sure Bill Gates knows everything in my book already. Him and his mosquito week. Everything about his life. Send them to government agencies. All right, let's go out to beautiful Sedona. Sedona? Oh boy. This is reminding me of my previous Gematria hotline that I finally had to end because it just kept hanging up on everybody. I think we're having some sort of problem right now with the line because I'm getting, when you use this Google line, hold on. I'm gonna hang up this thing and then restart it because I see that there's a lot of calls going to voicemail, which it does when it's on silent mode, which it's not. So it should be ringing, but it's hung up on 2 people already, and then everything's going to voicemail. So I'm starting to think, yeah, and I'm seeing your guys' voicemails. It's not letting me get through. I'm trying to call. It's not working. Okay, I don't know why that is. Sometimes, I've seen this before where I turn it on and off and then it starts working again. There's a ton of people calling right now, actually, because I'm getting a million voicemails. Yeah, okay. I turned it on and off. It should start working. Here we go. Let's hope this works. Ohio? Oh, come on, man. Come on. Well, this is just like the last Gematria hotline I had, where I had an actual phone. You guys saw how it was when I still had the normal phone number, and then it just started hanging up on everybody, so then I switched over to this. Caller?
Hi, my name is Claire. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Claire. How are you?
Good. It's a great book, and it's a great YouTube channel. I'm learning a lot. How do I figure out which sports betting site to start researching?
Well, don't use 5 Dimes because they just screwed over everybody. They decided not to pay out their futures to all their U.S. customers for basketball, so don't use that website. You can research like Bovada. Bovada is a legitimate site.
Okay, thank you so much. Keep up the great work.
All right, yeah, you take care. See you.
Hey. Call from.
Caller? Oh, come on, man. Okay, this is terrible. Hard to have a call-in show when the number doesn't work. Here again, I got to show you guys the coincidence of the day in case you didn't see what I uploaded to my sports channel. Did you guys know it's Father-Daughter Day today? Father-Daughter Day. If I say father and daughter in 2020, does it make you think of anything that happened this year? Was there a big story with a father and a daughter this year, maybe? Maybe it was back in January on the 26th of January. Maybe it was a tragedy.
From?
Caller?
Yeah, hi, Dak.
Hey.
Hey, it's Chris from New York.
Hey, what's up?
I was just listening. I'm good. I'm noticing that you have, how many subscribers? About 55,000 subscribers?
Well, that's what we're back up to. We've been bigger before deletion, but...
Yeah, I just want to say, I have no problem with you, making money. I know you say, like, you're trying to keep the price of the book down and everything. Just so you know, I did order your book. I pre-ordered it back, a couple months ago. And, for $15, I got it in the mail a couple of weeks ago. And I appreciate that. But I would have had no problem with you, making money. Because I believe in what you're doing. I don't believe you're in this whole thing to make money. I believe you really want to build a truth community where we can, start taking down at the fall. And you want to have a community where you can pay employees and build a structure and stuff like that. And what would be wrong if you asked your 55,000 subscribers, hey, if everyone gave you $10, that's over $500,000. Am I doing the math wrong? I mean, that would be, think of what you could do with that money. Just so you know, I'm a Patreon, and I do the sports $5 a month. I don't even use it for gambling on sports. I just kind of feel like, yeah, you're worth $60 a year for the information that you provide me, So, like the subscribers need to step up. For all the people that say all these nice, great things about you, all the people that put these great reviews on Amazon, but it's time to step up. Just my opinion. I don't have a problem with you making money. Like if you would have sold the book for 20, I bought it for 15. I would have bought it for 25. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't break even on the book. You should have made money on it. That's some,
Well, I appreciate that. And again, I've been all year I've been asking people, because I always said there's so many people here. If everybody pledged $1 a month, which pretty much everyone can afford $1 a month, then we would be able to hire a full news network of people. We'd be able to have means to travel and get to things when they happen and be on the ground and have a group of people pounding pavement and raising awareness. That's the vision, and I'm going to keep working. I mean, that's still the goal every day, but I mean, how many times have those same words came out of my mouth, and when I say it, it's like I get 2 more people who pledge $1 instead of the 1,000 and some people that were in the live stream. And granted, maybe it's the 1,000 and some people that are in every live stream that already do pledge $1, but I just don't know where everybody else is at, so...
Yeah, I just think, for anyone that's listening right now on your stream and everything, come on, guys, step up. Like everyone that's subscribed to your channel right now, those 55,000 people, everybody should just give you $10 without hesitation. If everyone gave you $10, that's $500,000. You could do the things that you were just talking about 2 seconds ago. So,
well, that's if everybody did donate $10 at once, we'd have over $500,000. And the thing about that is, you could pay 5 people a salary of $50,000 a year, which to me is a fair salary. You can live on that. That's $250,000. And granted, you have to put in some other stuff if you're a business. You have to pay for insurance, so that costs something too. But you'd still have another $250,000 to. I mean, as a team of people working, you could do a lot in a year with that money. So yeah, if everybody just donated $10 once a year, you'd have this surplus of funds to do everything you do. Yeah, these major news networks that terrorize the world have multi-billion-dollar budgets, but really, if we had $500,000, I think we could counter what they're doing because our information is much more powerful. So that's the goal, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Time for those 55,000. Every one of those 55,000. $10, man, and we're on our way. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, Zach.
All right. See you. Okay, I just missed a call from Portland, my home city, the 503. But look at this. From LeBron's birthday to today, this day of Father-Daughter Day. Remember Kobe for the Lakers died with his daughter, Gianna. But from LeBron's birthday to today is his 287th day of his age. It's also his 41st week. It's the 41st Sunday of the year. Kobe died at 41. But look at this. In Gematria, Father-Daughter Day equals 172. If LeBron wins today, he will get his 172nd playoff win, right? Father-daughter day is also 82. Game is 82. Bryant's 82. Pro basketball is 82. There's normally 82 games in a season. Today's LeBron's 287th day of his age on Father-daughter day. And Father-daughter day, this is how tight they script this stuff. If LeBron lost today, he would get his 89th playoff loss. He'll either get his 172nd playoff win today or his 89th playoff loss. But should the Lakers win, they will win the finals 4-2 on Father-daughter day. And notice daughter's 42 and Lakers is 42. And they reported that but Kobe crashed in the 4,200 block, even though he crashed in the middle of the field. And LeBron James is 42. And then not to mention, today leaves 81 days left in the year. Kobe Bryant's 81. And Ritual's 81. And again, I just... I just can't believe that people like... I did this video last night on a live stream on YouTube, and just so many dumb comments like, oh, come on, man, like, that even means anything. It's just like, okay, I hope to God you're a troll. You really think that's coincidental that Father-daughter day closeout game for the Lakers is on LeBron's 287th day of his age, and he can get his 172nd win? And again, the Jesuit motto, Ad Merum Dei Gloriam, is 172 as well. That's Jordan's birthday, 17/2. I see all the calls are going back to voicemail again, so apparently Google doesn't want us to have a successful call-in show today. I honestly wondered when I switched over to the Google phone operating how long this would work for, and it's been about 2 months. So, and it's been mostly good for those 2 months. Oh, shit. I think... my fault, you guys. My fault. I think I'm on the wrong screen. I'm on the wrong screen, and you guys can't see what I'm trying to show you. Here, let me do it all over again. You guys can't even see what I'm showing you. LeBron James' birthday, December 30th. Same birthday as Tiger Woods. Same birthday as Tyrese, who sings that song, Sweet Lady. But LeBron James' birthday... Today is Father-daughter day, Sunday, October 11th. Kobe and his daughter died on a Sunday, exactly 37 weeks ago, and Bryant's 37, and Los Angeles is 37. Hold on, a call's working somehow. Caller?
Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, not much, man. I'm kind of new to your channel. I've been watching for, like, a few months, deep in, like, the conspiracy world and all that since I was a kid, and, just getting to know Gematria. I was wondering if you thought anything about this recent Denver shooting protest. I'm just tuning in.
I did. So there was a recent protest and a fatal shooting in Denver.
Yeah. It's like this guy basically. Yeah, I think he was security for a news network, and he shot this guy who was macing him. But it just screams false flag, like right from the beginning. They got a picture of the bullet discharging out of the gun, and it looks like it's still a full round, and you can just kind of tell just by looking at it.
Well, I just know, I know if the New York Times is reporting on it, it's in the mainstream, it's definitely a psyop. So, yeah, we can look at that. Looks like it was yesterday's news. Was it yesterday's news?
Yeah, it just happened yesterday, and then, another interesting thing about it, though, is that I don't know what time it happened, but the watch is at 10:10, which is interesting because all new watches, in like any picture of a watch you look at online, is going to be at 10:10, and it just seems strange. A lot of things about it. But I just wanted to mention that, and yeah, this is really fascinating, and I don't know, you can be pretty funny when you go after the other guys, too. I think you might be onto something.
I know I'm onto something.
Yeah, I think so. It's weird, man. It's weird that everybody got taken off YouTube, and, like, Richie from Boston is up, and...
Well, and again, just the thing about Richie is, Richie was a nobody channel when all the Good Truth channels existed. He had no following, no subscribers. Everybody gets deleted. He's magically overnight up to 100K, like 10 times his subscribers almost overnight. It's like, what is going on here? No way.
I know. It's weird, definitely. I saw some other video of his. He had like some like refinishing thing for a bathtub, and he had one review, and it said that he was like remodeling bathtubs, some scam business he had, and he said to wait 24 hours for the fumes to dry. And then they go up there, the job's not done, they call him to fix it. He says, "Oh, I'm hurt, I can't get back there." And they said he took the payment, never did the job. And that's just, if you read the review, it's like so typical and cliche of just that kind of person.
There's so many shady contractors. Exactly. You'll find the shadiest people in contracting. I mean, there's good ones out there, but there's just so many scammers and people who don't finish the job and take the money or take half the money and never show up again. It's just, if you as a homeowner, you just know you got to find a good person to work on your house, because most people are not. And I'm sure Richie was one of those types. Yeah, the guy is just truly human scum. And for all the people out there who get mad when I talk about Richie, all you're showing me is you guys aren't very awake. I know you haven't been awake very long. I know you haven't been following YouTube very long. Anyone who's been awake and seen the timeline of Richie's channel, you already know what's up. You know about his big scam with his computer on fire. You know how he's always full of shit. I see what he's doing now, too. He's been, for like 3 months, he's been saying, "I'm going to give out $5,000 to people who buy my Patriot buckets." And when he first said that like 3 months ago, he said he was going to do it in a week. Now it's 3 months later. He's still telling you to buy his Patriot buckets, and he's going to do a $5,000 giveaway, and he's got all these excuses why he hasn't given the money yet. The guy's just straight fraud scammer, period, for suckers. So
yeah, it seems, it's like the idea of jiu-jitsu. It's like, as far as like false like the false information guys goes, it's like Alex Jones. Like, he's besmirching the entire community. Like, he'll put out some real information, but then just act like a crazy guy. And then you have the other guys like Tim Pool. Like, Tim Pool doesn't even. He's another guy who I think was promoted.
Well, did you see what I just showed about Tim Pool in the Gary Lamb video?
No, I just.
Well, here, I'll just do it for everybody who doesn't know. So you know how there's this guy that uploaded a YouTube video that Donald Trump made into a campaign advertisement, and the guy uploaded the video for Tim Pool? Are you aware of all this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was Gary Lamb. So hold on, let me see if I got the right post here. But it was just, you can just see, I think this is it right here. You can see how perfectly coordinated all of this stuff is. So the video that was uploaded for Tim Pool by Gary Lamb that became the political advertisement was uploaded September 22nd. And that's the day leaving 100 days left in the year. And Tim Pool equals 100. And African Americans 100. And the video came out 100 days after Trump's birthday. And then not only that, there's a whole bunch of other stuff here. But if you measure from Tim Pool's birthday to the day the video came out was 197 days later, which is the 45th prime. And now it's the campaign advertisement for number 45. And then again, we know this is the 59th U.S. presidential election. They always code 59 and 42 on black rituals. This video came out 42 days before the 59th U.S. presidential election. And black people have noticed. They're really making a push to get black people to vote in the 59th U.S. presidential election. That's because Negro, Slave, Blues, Rasta, they're all 59. These are all rituals. But through this whole Gary Lamb thing, you can see what an agent Tim Pool is. And that's just obvious to me that Tim Pool's an agent. Because you look at a guy like Tim Pool. Is he interesting? Not at all. Is there anything unique about him? Nothing. Is he attractive? Not that that should matter, but normally if you're famous, at least you're interesting or attractive. No, not at all. There's just nothing about this guy. He's just a pawn that's another person that the big tech companies have promoted to keep people in the box and believing in all this bullshit. And supposedly he got famous off the Occupy movements. Well, the Occupy movements were supposed to be fuck the system. So how's he Mr. Fuck the system, but he's telling people to believe in politicians? Just the whole thing is just such an obvious fraud, but then you see rituals like this, and you see how perfect these stooges are used in these rituals.
Yeah.
So
there's no real famous voices of dissent right now. There isn't.
Well, has there ever been? Has there ever been? I'm not sure there ever has been.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like to do comedy. I do close-up magic as well, like entertaining magic, not like black magic. But I always thought George Carlin was kind of like, I remember discovering him when I was 18 and just hearing him say the stuff about how the system was bought and paid for a long time ago, and it's the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it, you know. I thought it was something at least, you know.
For the record, I used to always say that before George Carlin even said it. But yeah, people do know that. Yeah, his whole spiel right there that you're talking about is a great one. And Yeah, George Carlin went out by the numbers too. I guess what you're saying. Okay, maybe some famous people have been voices of dissent. Maybe a Carlin type. Okay, but
I think, and then Bill Hicks, because Bill Hicks never really got
Bill
that
Hicks wasn't
He was
famous
on the
until
Tonight
after
Show
he
once.
died. So
Right. But and the reason why is because of what he was saying. You know, you can't get in Hollywood unless you're towing the company line. And
Right.
just because, like, even and just because we're on comedy, real quick, Bill Burr did a SNL special, and it's like he used to be hardcore conspiracy theorist type guy, like didn't even believe in the left-right paradigm, and now he's on SNL. Like the first thing he says is like, make sure you have your mask. If you don't have one on, that's okay. I don't mind if you
Yeah.
die. Like he's still
total
towing
sold
the
out.
company line.
Yeah,
You know?
you see it. You just see
Yep.
the sellout. By the way, speaking of that familiar number 47, I see that Showtime has a new show about the Comedy Store. It's about the 47 years of the Comedy Store. Brand new show they just put out. And
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna check it out, but I heard that the first episode's very much focused on Freddie Prinze, not to be confused with Freddie Prinze Jr., his son, the actor, but his death at age 22. And I just looked into that the other day, and I saw that not only did he die at 22, he died on his 222nd day of being 22 years old, and he died on the 29th day of the year, January 29th, and is it comedy or comedian? I think it's comedy that's 29, so. But yeah, they say he committed suicide. I'm guessing he probably didn't. I'm guessing he was a one of the many entertainers to be off by the code, so.
Who was this?
Freddie Prinze. Comedian.
Oh, Freddie Prinze.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy time. It's like there's no it's like you can just see everything that's going on right now. And I'll end with this, but it's like we are literally in, like, this is what all the conspiracy theorist type people have been warning you about. And I always thought that when it happens, then you would be able to tell people. Then you could be like, see, look at what's happening. But it's happening now, and it's like people can't see it. It's like they refuse to.
Well, I don't know how old you are, but I'm not surprised by anything. I felt that this is how it would always be after 9/11, and I was just saying back then, I was saying 9/11 is such an obvious lie, everyone should see it. Just imagine what they'll do next, and these people probably still won't see it, so.
It really is like living in some kind of sci-fi movie with, like, zombie robots.
The Twilight Zone equals 201. The Twilight Zone 201, so.
Yeah. Man, and they just renewed that show too, which is so weird to have a show about a strange alternate reality during a time when, like, the regular reality is strange enough. You don't even need it.
Indeed.
But, do you mind if I plug my YouTube channel?
Go ahead.
It's Mike H. Magic. Mike H. Magic. I just make little videos covering what's going on, but been very interested in the gematria stuff. I'm going to pick up the book and see if I can catch on. Very new to me, but it lines up with everything else.
All right.
You know,
I'm subscribing. I'm subscribed. Mike H. Magic. Twitter at Mike H. Magic 52. Hey, what made you go with the number 52?
Just because that's what's in the deck of cards. A deck of cards.
That makes a lot of sense. That's 50. What I assumed. Okay.
But even that is, you know, the whole idea of a deck of cards is like a playing deck of cards originates from the tarot deck. And, yeah, it's a strange number. It's like you could shuffle the deck and never get the same order or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like there's like an infinite amount of combinations of like 52 for some reason, like factorial.
Yeah, indeed. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Interesting stuff. But thanks again, Zach.
All right. Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one. See you. Okay. But yeah, I mean, just stuff like this, you guys. LeBron James passes Kobe Bryant in points scored in Philadelphia, Kobe's hometown. The next day, Kobe Bryant dies. Kobe fell to fourth in points scored when LeBron passed him, 4 associated with death. And then Kobe died with his daughter. And then from LeBron's birthday to today, Sunday, Game 6 of the NBA Finals, LeBron's 41st week of his age is 287th day. And it's on Father-Daughter Day, which equals 287 and 172, and he can get his 172nd playoff win today. It's just like, oh my God.
From
Caller?
Hey, Zach, how you doing, bud? This is Chris from California. I called in last week, and I thought I'd touch on that. There was, I don't know what reminded me of it. I was listening a few minutes ago, but I guess what I'm going to get at is Ready Player One, Steven Spielberg movie. I don't know if you have watched it yet, but it is a lot of decoding or encoding on that movie, and such as the guy's name is James Halliday, like Holy Day, and he built this AI system to where essentially everyone after the crash that they talked about, the big crash where there was a high fructose corn syrup drought, and everyone essentially stopped focusing in on their life and all their problems, and instead started going in towards the AI, which is, like a lot of other movies. There's Demolition Man. There's a lot with the virtual reality is what I'm trying to say. And they have what's called Gregorian games, and that reminds me of the Gregorian calendar. And the whole thing is that Halliday built in a bunch of Easter eggs that are in the game itself. And so everyone's trying to figure out over his life's work, what are the 3 Easter eggs that they can essentially, beat the game, and then they can get the all-knowing. And it's just like every other myth or mystic story about the Christ, the hero's journey. But there's a lot in there, and considering that it is a Spielberg movie, there is probably a lot of predictive programming in it. It's based out of Columbus, Ohio, like a lot of dystopian future movies are. And so don't know if you have watched it, but it's definitely one of those where I'm sure there's a lot of decoding to do on it. And I've started to do that, so I thought I'd throw that out there for you.
Okay, appreciate it. I haven't seen it, but I'll have to check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, bud. Take it easy.
All right, see you.
call from?
Caller?
Hey, sorry if I'm off topic, but are you going to be talking about Denver, or I just tuned in? I saw you were on it for a second.
Oh, well, I was just reading the story, and I didn't even see that any names were put in there. So, do we have any names?
Yeah, so the shooter's name is Matthew Doloff. Doloff, his last name is 119 in reverse ordinal. And then, so that's the same as All Seeing Eye, right? And then he works for this company called...
Please. I'm trying to find it. Matthew, is it Matthew Robert? Oh, there we Matthew Doloff. Okay. Got it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so Doloff by itself is 119 in reverse ordinal, I believe. And then so same as All Seeing Eye. So he worked for this company called Pinkerton Security. If you go to Pinkerton.com,
right,
you can see that it'll have the first picture is like a Civil War photo of Abraham Lincoln and two guys with their hands hiding inside of their breast pockets. So, and then the symbol for Pinkerton is an all-seeing eye with a pyramid in it.
Okay.
So that for me kind of connects those things together. And then I don't know if you saw the picture of the guy shooting, but they caught what they say is the bullet in midair, but the bullet is still attached to the casing. There was only one shot. And so the bullet shouldn't be attached to the casing. It's either a mess up and like the fakery, or I'm not sure, but it seems like a mess up in the fakery. The Masonic Lodge is literally one block over. In the famous photo that everyone's looking at, the guy is wearing glasses, and on the glasses it says glasses, and I think it's 44 and hold on, one second. I don't have it up right now, but it matches with shooting. I think glasses and shooting.
I just want to point out that his full name, Matthew Robert Duluth, equals 94, just like Denver and Terror's 94. Talk a lot about that number in the book as well. And then it's another shooting on a Saturday, because Saturday and shooting have the gematria overlap. And everything else you're saying. So, I mean, you just see it's another encoded ritual. His name, Matthew Robert Duluth, is 94 and 104, like Roman Catholic Church. So, no doubt.
Yeah, so Glasses has 107 and 44, and shooting is 107 and 44, and he's got glasses on that say glasses on the side. Like, I've never seen glasses that say glasses on the side. I thought that was something.
Sure, it probably is.
I think that's about it that I have for now, except for there's a lot of 36s, which reminds me of that, like 666, 36. There's security guard is what he was. That's 171. That's a significant number, I think, for you, right? The police chief who did 9 News is what the security guard was working for. 9 News, the number 9 and News in gematria is 56, like the Jesuits.
Okay. Okay.
I think isn't 171 a significant number?
It's the 18th triangular number, IHS 18. And for the record, I just got to interrupt. I talked about this the other day. This is unrelated, but in the NFL, breaking news right now, Alex Smith has re-entered the playing. He hasn't played in exactly 99 weeks, and we predicted this. We said, will we see Alex Smith return to the field this week? 99 weeks after what was supposed to be his career-ending injury, because remember, he was injured by number 99, J.J. Watt, who has the March 22nd birthday, 322, injured on the 322nd day of the year, on the same spot on the field that Joe Theismann was injured 33 years to the day. And he wears number 11. If you write out 11, it equals 99. If you write out Redskins, it equals 99. The last time he was on the field, they were the Washington Redskins. It's just amazing how scripted everything is. And when you learn gematria, you can often predict. I mean, we already talked about this, but from the sports to the news stories to the politics, it's all the same. It's just a big rigged theater. And you guys don't need to keep calling in and say, do you think this story's scripted and rigged? My answer to every question is, was it in the news? Yes. Was it in the mainstream news? Yes. So it's all rigged. It's all encoded. It's all perfect ritual. It's everything. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, 9 News is 56. Like, I think that's Jesuit order, right? 56 has been big with you lately, so I thought that was pretty significant. Joe Montoya is the police chief who did the announcement after. I think 133 is significant to the Freemasons. I can't remember what the reason is. I was actually wanting to ask you, how do I, do you have a website that has, like, the most important numbers and the most insignificant numbers? Because I always see the repeating numbers, but I forget what they relate to.
My books are the best examples. So I got the first book. I got some good groups and numbers there. Numbers to know.
Okay.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
It's just like your book. Okay. Take care.
All right. See you. But yeah, here it is. Alex Smith, injured by number 99. That's J.J. Watt, whose birthday is March 22nd, 322. Injured on the 322nd day of the year. 322 Skull and Bones, American football, credited to the Skull and Bones member Walter Camp. And from that injury to today, his return, exactly 99 weeks. And we saw this coming before it even happened. So.
From
Caller.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Is this Zach?
Yep.
Zach, Caleb, listening to your show now for a couple of months, and the first time things really connect, everything else kind of leads down a direction but doesn't go anywhere. Grateful for your work. Going to become a monthly subscriber. I heard you today talk about being from Portland. I'm from a rural part of Oregon, and the federal troops in Portland this summer had a pretty big impact on my consciousness or awareness. Anything else about our state or that city that you want to share with us today? I was really intrigued to hear you bring it up in your book.
Well, I'm sure you remember the Oregon standoff story from a few years back.
Yep.
The ranchers at the federal building. Again, to me, that was one of the best examples of all time, because Oregon lost the Alamo Bowl that day in a record comeback by TCU, and Oregon went down with 41 points. And then as soon as that game ended, like literally as soon as the game ended, the breaking news was that there was a standoff in Oregon. And I said, look at this. The Alamo Bowl ends, Oregon loses, 41 points, and now you have a standoff in Oregon when the Alamo was a standoff. And I said, look at where the standoff is. It's in the middle of Oregon, where no one lives. It's at a closed federal building. How would all the news agencies even know that this is happening? Who would know that a group of men have gathered at a closed building in the middle of nowhere and report this as the big top headline story? And I said, look at this. If you write out Ammon Bundy, the leader, it equals 41. If you write out Ranchers, it equals 41. If you write out Standoff, it's 41. If you write out San Antonio, Texas, where the Alamo Bowl is, 41. I said, watch. The Alamo lasted 13 days. 41's the 13th prime. This will last 41 days. It'll end February 11th, the 42nd day of the year, because Waco's 42, another Texas standoff. That's exactly what day it ended. And it was just another example of how sports and news are scripted, and we called exactly what day it would end the day the headline broke. So, again, that was a great example of how rigged things are from Oregon. And
that's good. I saw that Ammon Bundy came out this summer wildly and shocked everyone, saying that he's a supporter of Black Lives Matter. And when you start trying to connect how that might be, I suppose what you just said really put some of that in perspective.
Exactly. He's just an agent. He's just an agent. So many people got mad at me. They're like, the Bundys are good people. They stand up for good things. It's like, okay, they are a PSYOP family used in PSYOPs. That's who they are. I just exposed it for you. So
I found you in August when I can't remember his name. He played Jackie Robinson. I'm a little
Chadwick Boseman.
When he passed away.
Chadwick Boseman.
Found you off that video, and I think you even said in that video that a lot of folks are going to be coming to this topic because they're looking for answers, which was true. And do you think this is people, or do you think this is some kind of a matrix ones and zeros thing where there's something behind all this that isn't planned by people, but because of the fabric of our world being numbers, that somehow it's written into the code, and that we really will never walk down a path to find a group of people behind it all? How do you reconcile that there's these shadow people? Are they really people, or is it something else?
No, there's definitely people doing this. I mean, Anthony Fauci going up to the podium January 10th, 2017 by the numbers, saying there'll be a surprise outbreak and pandemic under Trump. So, again, it's very clear it's the Jesuits who are behind all this. But, yeah, there's an organic side, too. So, but, yeah, it's very clear who's doing this.
I'm just thinking behind all of them, there always seems to be, you can never really pin it on anybody. And I go, well, is that because it's something that's non-human based, something else? And where that goes, I don't know. But again, grateful for everything. And I keep tuning in your channel. There's so much. I can't consume it all. But every time I'm on here, it's the only thing that really feels like it's leading anywhere. So thanks for everything you're doing.
Indeed. Appreciate it, man. You have a good day.
Yep.
Take care.
From
caller.
Yo, what's up?
Yo.
Are you still planning on coming to the East Coast?
That is still the plan. I just got to get Sweet Lady on board with the plan, so.
Okay, then.
But yeah.
I wonder, so, I'm in Georgia, so.
Well, it's funny. Just as a heads up, this author publishing company, they reached out to me and they said, we like your book. You need to get more awareness about your book so more people can find it. So they talked me into to paying a fee to go on CBS News radio program, not the TV program, but the radio. So I'm going to be doing a CBS News radio interview, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because they also want me to do a TV interview with the Christian News Network, but they broadcast out of Atlanta, and if I do that, I have to fly out to Atlanta. But I got to do some more research on how many people watch the Christian News Network. But if that happens, I'll definitely be in the Atlanta area, and I'll let everybody know. So that's something that might very well happen soon.
Okay, then. That's what I was hoping to get from you.
Yeah, so I'll keep everybody posted. But yeah, I definitely intend to be out in Atlanta, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you. Take it easy.
All right, see you, man. Yeah. Yeah, but again, from the news to the sports, I mean, you have gematria, you just see through it all every single day. It's just big rig spectacles left and right. And let's see. Yeah, this Denver story, I'll look more into it, but I don't think it's any accident that his name equals Denver. And again, it's another Saturday shooting story. They happen so much because Saturday and shooting have the same gematria. Pinkertons.
From?
Caller?
Hello, Zach.
Hey, what's up, man?
Good. All right, so I've been doing a lot of research the last 2 days, and I found some really good information. So I'll start with the 27 colleges at universities in the U.S., and as well as the one in Belize, are part of a association called the AJCU. AJCU equals 35, like Catholic. It equals 28 in reverse Pythagorean, and there's 28 schools in the network, and it equals 804 in Jewish, like Jesuit order, Catholic Church, Superior General. Okay, and then, so here's the thing. So before 2019, there were 28 as well, but one of them was Wheeling University in West Virginia, and it got the boot from the AJCU last year. St. John's College in Belize was added this year on June 5th, that day that can be written 5/6. St. John's College equals 56 in Pythagorean. So I think that's pretty interesting that they, because, AJC equals 28, and then they've had 28 colleges for all these years, and then they kick one out and they bring a new one back in on 5/6 when 56 has been the number this year.
Indeed. Yeah, I gotta talk to Book Baby and see if it was just a coincidence that the ebook version of this came out to 506 pages. I'm just like, I can't believe that. Again, the physical book's not that long, but it's like, what are the odds? 56 again. So, yeah, good research, Ben.
But there's a lot of other things too. For example, I found out that Georgetown accepted their first student, William Gaston, a total span of 42 days before classes started. Like Georgetown equals 42, Jesuit equals 42. And classes at Georgetown started on January 2nd, 1792, which was, a day that can be written 2/1, like Jesuit equals 21. And Sunday, their holy day is 21. Anyway, I found a lot of other information, like, here's another good piece of information. There's a Jesuit honor society called Alpha Sigma Nu. And in the traditional Greek isopsephy cipher, Alpha Sigma Nu, the letters are 251, the 54th prime.
Nice.
And, yeah, so that was pretty unbelievable when I first saw that. And then I've been looking into the Jesuit colleges and universities. I think, I'm going to decode those when I get the time to. Maybe this winter break I'll look more into them. But one thing I did find was that Spring Hill College, which is like weird because it's like in the middle of, well, not in the middle of anywhere. It's actually right on the southern tip in Alabama, which is, probably not the most well known, but it's in the 251 area code.
There you go.
And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And this guy so here's another piece of information. So the Jesuits were suppressed for 41 years between 1773 and 1814. They were reestablished. I think Pope Pius, either the 6th or 7th, brought them back on August 7th, the day that can be written 7/8, like Jesuit equals 78.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Now, on top of that, so while they were still active in Russia at the time, they suspended the superior general account when they something known as the temporary vicars general. And the person who was temporary vicars general during the time of Georgetown's establishment was Gabriel Lenkiewicz. Gabriel Lenkiewicz. That equals 153. And he was born on March 15th, the day that can be written 15/3. And Jesuit order equals 153.
Right.
Also, Lenkiewicz equals 54, like Jesuit order equals 54. And he died 251 days after his birthday, the 54th prime.
Sounds like a bunch of coincidences to me. So
I know, right? Pretty amazing. And I found out John Carroll. John Carroll was the first Roman Catholic Church leader in the United States after they got their independence. That didn't have the authority like back in London over them. So John Carroll was appointed by Pope Pius VI in 1784. 1784, I think that was, I think it was like a couple of years, maybe like 1, 2, or 3 years after the Treaty of Paris. So, because there wasn't a lot of Roman Catholics in the United States at the time, it was called, it wasn't called a bishop, it was called Superior of the Missions. And I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure Superior of the Missions equals 112, or it equals something that's significant to the Jesuits. And so, anyway, the Treaty of Paris was September 3rd, 1783. So this was less than a year later. 1784, Jesuit equals 84, becomes Superior of the Missions. Anyway, so eventually, once they got into, eventually that became the Diocese of Baltimore, because Baltimore was where the first meeting was, or when the first establishment of Roman Catholicism in the United States was. And the thing is, Baltimore equals 95. 95 being a very important number to the Jesuits, as we know. So there's that. And then on April 8th, 1808, April 8th, day that can be written 8/4, Baltimore became the Archdiocese of Baltimore, because they made a diocese in Boston, Philadelphia, New York, and somewhere in Kentucky. And then Baltimore became an archdiocese, and making John Carroll an archbishop. And archbishop equals 54, like John Carroll equals 54, like Jesuit order equals 54. Archdiocese also equals 54.
Ben, have you been doing your homework for your actual classes?
To be honest, no. I have a lot to do, but
well, yeah, because you're doing some great research, man. You're doing. I'm waiting for the follow-up book from Ben. So,
yeah, I was thinking like we could make number games like a series. Like, obviously we have the letters and numbers, and then you have your number games. But I was like, I honestly want to write a book decoding all the Jesuit colleges and universities in the United States and the one in Belize. Yeah. And I just want to I was thinking, we could do other ones for famous musicians, just focus on decoding their albums and stuff.
Sure.
Or, make it more focused and in tune with, specific things that people might be interested in.
Indeed.
But at the same time, I also want to I don't want there to be any more examples because I want to bring an end to it. But, it's kind of hard to, just out here on your own little island.
Indeed. But yeah, you're doing awesome work, man. I appreciate that you're putting in the time, even though you're a busy student right now. So, And Ben, also I apologize
Yeah.
because I was about to sign your books before I put them in the mail, and then I decided not to because I was like, I'm going to sign them in person when I'm out there, and I had every intention of being out there, but I'll still come out there and sign them in person. So I know that your books don't have signatures on them, and I feel bad about that because I was supposed to sign it in person, but I'll make that right here in the not too distant future. So.
All right, sounds good, man. I appreciate it. And don't feel too bad because the information is what counts.
Sure. All right, Ben. Keep up the good work, man.
Yeah. No problem.
All right.
Talk to you later.
All right. See you.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, Ben's been with us for a long time. He was in high school when he started following. Now I think he's in his second year of college now. Maybe. Can't be his third year already. Time's not going that fast. But maybe that's a good place to leave it. So I'm a little bit hungry. Grab some food here. Again, thank you to everyone who tuned in. And thank you to everyone who wrote a review. And I really hope if you have read the book, you will leave a review too. Or even if you don't want to do that, again, just come here and you're trying to wake somebody up to this, just say, hey, click on that look inside thing and just read the first 30-some pages of the book. So a lot of really good information here. And we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. I'll probably be back on later, so don't miss me too much. All right, until next time.